Hello and welcome to the Saladcast on Sunday, the 21st of May, 2017. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
Suddenly became summer.
And Robert Kemp.
I haven't sat down yet.
Yeah, Rob is tangled up in cables.
I'm coming.
You've got to extend your intro, Zach. It is true, though. Today was summer, which was really late, goddammit. Like, usually I think summer should start when the Masters golf tournament is on. That was ages ago.
Except that's really early, technically.
That is
It's like
quite early.
May.
Yeah.
Usually there's some weird sunny weather around that point, though.
Yeah, we haven't had the unusual, where there's like 1 week in like March
Yeah.
or something, where it's just
Yeah.
like, why is it so hot?
Yeah. But
I
freaking
think
heck,
that
this
did-
is
I
the
think that
point
did
where
happen in April, didn't it? It just wasn't super hot. It was.
it happened once. Yeah, I think it did happen once.
But not as
But-
much as it usually is.
No. But, I mean, this is when kids are taking exams and stuff. It should be boiling just to be annoying.
It's not June yet.
Well, they have it at the end of May, don't they?
Sort of.
Or is it
Rarely.
June?
Rarely that early.
Yeah,
Right,
I think
okay.
it's June. Maybe.
Okay, fine. GCSE
Oh,
time
unless they've
is...
changed everything since we were at school.
Well,
Who
yeah,
knows?
and I think they have. I think they have several times changed everything.
Well,
changed
whenever...
everything.
You can guarantee whenever the exams are, that's when there'll be super nice weather just to annoy them, which we can
Yeah.
enjoy.
You have to go sit in the nice ones where when you got to do your exams in the nice air-conditioned sports hall.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
Oh, man, yeah.
made this exam carry on. I can sleep in here.
I can't
Yes.
say I've ever had that instinct. Sometimes, some of the longer exams where you were, like, definitely done early and you were like, well,
What do I do
I
now?
can't really add to this.
Yeah.
Especially if it was like I don't know, like physics or something where you only have a certain amount of space to fill in for each answer or whatever, and you've just done it.
Yeah.
You've answered every question, so then you're like,
Or like a maths exam where it's just like, okay, I've actually answered all these questions.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're right. I could do them all again.
I usually got
Yeah.
stuck on at least one question and left it till the end
Yeah.
to like try and fix in maths, but later on. But anyway,
I'm trying to
yeah.
remember what the really long exams were. They were usually English, right?
Yeah.
The
Well, you have
Yeah.
to just write
Essays.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to spend an hour and a half just writing like one page because
History.
it's an exam and it's really annoying to do.
yeah.
Yeah, because English,
I find like the English exam quite a weird one. Like the critical analysis stuff of English, like Englit, that makes
Yeah.
a bit more sense perhaps to be examined upon, maybe. But like the creative part of English exams, it's like that kind of rubs me up the wrong way. Any sort of creative exam,
I don't think I ever
is-
did that.
is a little nonsense.
Like beyond, I don't remember doing that at GCSE, like a creative writing.
I'm sure you
part.
have to write like an
When you
essay.
just had like a
on-
whole like blank pages where it's just
Yeah.
like just write
and
for
it
a long
like
time.
it sort of gives you a theme or something to work with, and then it's like here go nuts.
Right. I mean,
I'm not
obviously,
sure
I did.
that's necessarily. Well, I don't know. But not sure that would necessarily be like marked on creativity. It might just be like how good you are at
Oh.
making English on a page
Yeah,
in
no,
a
I
long
think it's-
format.
I think it's a bit like because it's like an academic essay to some degree. Like they it's about staying on theme, and in a weird way, it's more about debating. And so it's almost like history, from what I
Right.
remember, in that you've got to put together a structured piece. If you see what I mean, like as if it was. I don't know if they ever give you context, like, hey, can you write a decent newspaper article or something, or hey, can you write
Yeah,
like a think piece or something
because
like that?
I did English Lit A level, and all I remember is doing. Even further back is doing. Okay, here's the critical analysis of this
poem.
book or poem or whatever, and you had it with you, and you could flick through it, or you'd been studying it or whatever, and you were like, well, I think this, and I'm quoting it to back that up. And the
Yeah,
same
you see,
kind of deal in history.
See, I don't remember doing the whole book thing in exams. I remember that being coursework. Like, hey, we've just studied Frankenstein. Here, go write some stuff about Frankenstein and how it's a terrible ass book.
Right.
And
Is that what you put in your essay?
pretty much,
This
yeah.
book is terrible ass.
I'm pretty sure I put like a single word sentence in there, which I think was yikes.
Yikes.
That's a very good English.
And,
as well.
and remember getting a big red mark for that. Yeah.
Yeesh.
Yeah. Yeah. I also remember doing all of my English homework the night before it being, or coursework stuff, the night before it needed to be handed in, and just crapping out 1,000 words
Well, yeah.
on my. But this was handwriting it as well.
Well, yeah.
And like in my terrible scroll, I'm trying to make it basically
unreadable.
I'm trying to basically make it to fit on a single piece of paper, like both sides maybe, but like there was like weirdly in my head it was like I must conserve paper.
Yeah, you were doing like the opposite of the standard way, like you space it out more to make it look like you wrote more.
Yeah.
But you were concerned about conserving resources instead of.
Yeah. And also the paper I used to write on used to be terrible. Like so it was really thin, and then so
yeah, you always had terrible paper. I do remember that.
Yeah,
about school in general.
Terrible equipment for some reason. We ever fell out of the Staples bargain bin, I guess.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Sorry, Rob.
When you didn't have actual books given to you. Actual straight up books of paper.
I used to hate that
good
stuff,
times.
like textbooks and having to keep
Well,
like
not textbooks. I mean,
well, even exercise
ones you
books
write
and
in.
things like that. Yeah, it's like I know the school would just sort of give you more, like if you used them up.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't really a charge associated with it, but it was,
Except for the rare occasions where you had evil teachers who were like, I'm going to actually make sure that you used every available space, and if you missed a page, I'm going to bitch at you about it.
it's one of those things that at the time I had no real appreciation for effectively notebooks having a form of presentation to them. I still don't really, but at least I can sort of look back at some of those textbooks now and go like, oh, how on earth did I actually read or remember anything from these? Because they're so poorly structured.
I don't really remember ever really using exercise books for the purpose of revision. I think I only used textbooks, which had the stuff that I'd already converted into the exercise book. Not sure I ever remember using my own notes at that level of school.
You know what? Yeah,
I think I might have done that where I basically got a new exercise book and copied it out again because the copying it out part out of the textbook, not from the original notes, but from the textbook, like made it go into my brain or something. Sure. So I think I did a lot of that, like summarizing notes.
You had the knowledge of that process.
I don't think I've ever done that form of revision where I actually wrote anything down. I think I just sort of like, here's the biology ones especially. We got nice little, for A levels I think as well, there were nice little guides based on which parts of the course we were doing. And it's like, here's the book for this part of the exam. Just memorize everything that's in here. And it's like, all right, I'll read it several times.
Yeah, I think that was the only time that I did something like that was before they gave you books, like exam notes, and you had to make your own exam notes. So I was like, well, this is me summarizing everything that I think I need to know, so that will actually help.
Those were awesome, by the way. Those little books that we got.
Well, now you can get them all the time, don't you?
Yeah.
They've got it easy these days.
Yeah.
I mean, once we got to university, it turned into that as well.
Well,
because at university, you don't have a fucking chance of remembering everything you need to know.
No.
Well, and also, I don't think I had that. Well, we had like the lecture notes for like, this is the day when, I guess the internet was starting to become prevalent and like universities were becoming organized enough that all the lecture notes, most of them were like,
on
just PowerPoint.
Blackboard or whatever.
Yeah. Most of them were still PowerPoint, I think, during my course. So, like, you could pull most of them because computer science.
Yeah, exactly.
There were still a few people that, like the the discrete maths team would always work on paper, and the logic guy would always work on paper, and irritatingly, the operating systems guy would always work on transparencies on what they called the overhead projector things.
Yep.
And it's like, so those were never available.
I think I distinctly remember, like, there being a moment. There was at least one lecturer that I had who did transparencies, and I distinctly remember, like, people queuing up after the lecture to take photos of the transparency.
Oh wow!
Like, I need these notes, but I didn't take enough of it down during the lecture, so I'll just take a photograph of it.
Well, here's the thing: phone cameras were too crap to really pull that off when I was in. And like, do you remember? Like, that was the age when I had that crappy clamshell phone that took like 640 by 480.
Well, I think we had crappy phones as well in general.
Yeah, well, it's
slightly worse than the best.
It's pre-iPhone, like a long time. Yeah, several years pre-iPhone. And
I think Dad's phone could have pulled it off. He had a fairly good camera at one point.
Yeah, I think I tried, but it's just too much. It was too much effort.
It wouldn't have come out very well. Like, it's not now where you could sit in the back of the room, get your iPhone out, and just take a picture of what's on screen and be like, that'll do. That would work.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, it was a pain.
They could just record every
official...
single lecture and put them online. Like, they should just have equipment for that, really. I think. I don't know. It can't be that hard.
There wasn't really, like, the point I was trying to get at is I didn't like with all that, and there was no real. You couldn't get an official course revision notebook or something. It's not like,
No.
here's the what were the examples, like AQA. Here's the AQA guide to Java.
AQA, yeah.
You know, you were kind of forced to take your own notes.
I had the marginal advantage that one of the lecturers on one part of my course actually literally wrote the book that we were using.
Yeah,
and that's always nice.
Good.
I think I had one of those as well. Yeah, he was a pretty respected guy in the realms of computer vision. I think that was the guy.
Although it's nice that he literally wrote the book and therefore he knows exactly what's in the book and how to teach it, but also that kind of induces laziness on his teaching as well.
Because he can just go, it's in the book, I've done this
exactly.
already.
I already know.
Yeah.
I don't have to explain this because I've already explained it, clearly.
The book has done it in exactly the way I would be telling you now, so just go away and read it. No more lectures for the rest of the year. Go, bye.
Yeah, that was definitely what happened with that guy. He let us out of lectures quite often and just said, just do the things that are in the book.
Yeah.
do the questions that are there, and that'll teach you.
If there's one thing... I was about to say, if there's one thing I regret about uni was my inability to stay awake during a lot of during a lot of lectures. Like, I don't know, lectures are dull after you're doing them all the time. And but on the flip side, I really don't regret that, because they were dull.
I only had problems in morning lectures, and luckily I just didn't have very many morning lectures.
No,
I don't think I
randomly worked out that way.
I don't think I'd figured out that. I don't think I'd figured out coffee at that point.
No, I definitely hadn't. That's almost a decade before I discovered.
Yeah, if I'd have discovered coffee, I think that would have helped in those morning lectures.
Well, surely at that point it would have been like energy drinks, right? That would have been what we theoretically would have
Yeah.
got.
Well, yeah, the old DCS lab did have like a windowsill that was frequently dedicated to a team pulling an all-nighter and was just like a pyramid of Red Bull. And then it would get cleared away, and then it would be a few days later, and then someone else would have done it, and it would be like, oh, the pyramid's back. I guess that was the other weird thing about doing a computer science course. It's like, well, hopefully you'd have your own laptop, right? Or your own machines on which to do this
Yes.
work. But it was kind of still in that area where
Not
everyone did. So I was fortunate enough to have the mother laptop and eventually Beef Pooter. Code names for my computers, by the way.
Let me do beef food into lectures, though.
No.
The laptop.
Just
bring an entire PC down and set up.
But I couldn't really bring mother laptop into lectures either because its battery life was so terrible.
Yeah.
There's plug sockets, I guess, if you sat in the right place.
Yeah.
You could sneak a cable in there.
Do you think everyone now is on their MacBook Air in their or whatever in their lecture?
Yeah.
Like even the poor students.
Well, I don't
or
know.
whatever.
I don't know. Some people still prefer the paper method, right? Even in.
Well, I was saying this the other day
must be
that
aware of this, right? Like, because we both work in the field now, that quite a lot of people still paper notes.
Well, I use paper notes and whiteboards, very important for software engineering. How are you supposed to talk about architecture without a whiteboard? I don't know. Or like post-it notes or whatever. But I was saying this the other day that it's kind of weird how like the more technical the degree, like engineering or whatever, the more you need to use pen and paper, because if you're doing like English or creative writing, you could just survive just typing on your laptop. You could write all your essays online. You could email. You could probably submit your essays electronically. No problem. But if you're trying to do any kind of maths, you need to basically write it on paper because it's impossible to like type formulas into a computer.
Well, I mean, that's why they tried to teach you like
LaTeX,
what is that program called?
LaTeX, right?
No,
and
it's math something.
MathLab, is it?
Yeah, MathLab.
Oh, MathLab. But MathLab's more of
They tried to teach you that, but it's just like you're never actually going to be able to use that in a timely fashion inside like a lecture or whatever.
I mean, MathLab
cool
is
for
like
making really nice looking formulas that you can print out, but you need to take your time to do it.
that's a different thing, though, isn't it? Because MATLAB is like a programming language for for doing like
I mean, it
vector
will-
stuff.
I think it also will
It is,
do
it
the
is,
calculations. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
It's for
format.
doing calculations, not for making them look pretty
But it
formulas.
it just conveniently did that too.
Oh, did it? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I
don't
tried
remember the-
LaTeX,
it
and
has-
it's like a bloody nightmare.
Oh no, bloody yeah! I had a brief look at it and then thought, nope.
Fuck
And
that.
then I'm just using a Word doc. It's like
Yeah.
I don't need to. Well, given the stuff I was writing, it's like I don't really need to write out ridiculous equations that often. So this is going to be fine.
I'm pretty sure when I was doing long, like actual, dissertations or whatever, I'm pretty sure I went specifically to the computer lab to use MATLAB to write the formulas out, and then like screenshotted them into JPEG so I
nice.
could insert them into the Word document.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly. And then you see any like formulas on Wikipedia, and they've been generated into PNGs, I think, from like a subset of LaTeX. So someone has written those out in LaTeX format and to get them in the right look.
I hate LaTeX.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
I would probably hate it a lot less now. Thinking about it now that
In
the
theory,
idea of markup-based documents. In fairness, actually, a lot of the time when I've needed to write documentation and make it somewhat pretty, that maybe usable, I've just done it in HTML.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, totally.
Just do a simple word page. You use CSS rules to do the heading numbering for you,
right?
and things like that. So it's like, loads of shortcuts. Just do that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I
If
write
anyone's
a
ever
bunch of
tried to do it-
Markdown now, so
Yeah.
which is just converts to HTML. But then I don't know how you do heading numbers with that. I bet it does have a way of doing that. Anyway, never
probably.
mind.
It's like I think the thing with LaTeX, wasn't it, like regarding that stuff, was because it could do the references for you. If you put an image in, it would number it, and then you could refer to it, and it would keep that
What,
link.
Figure number 3 or whatever.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
if you added more later, and the numbers changed,
Yeah,
everything
but
would
I'm just
still
saying
tie
it's
up.
like it's brilliant, I'm sure, for technical writing. But when you're doing like papers or whatever for seminars or whatever during the term at university, they don't need to look nice. They just need to be done, right?
Yeah.
So you just use pen and paper. Whereas if you were doing English, you could go paperless and just bash everything out, right? So it's kind of a bit weird that the more like techno the subject, the more you need pen and paper.
And also, it's just like not easy to draw things on computer.
Exactly.
No, it's like I was thinking about what you said about whiteboards earlier, and then a bit of me is just like, well, we don't have a whiteboard, but then we don't do that sort of discussion because most of the time it's just me.
It would help. Yeah,
Don't
exactly.
discuss
It's
anything.
in your head.
Yeah.
If you were talking to someone else about the architecture, which you did with me the other day, you could draw that out on a whiteboard, and it really helps.
No, I'm not sure I could actually. That's assuming
You've forgotten how to
Or
use
parts of it.
PowerPoint.
that's assuming there's architecture.
It definitely is. I'm not saying it's like Frank Lloyd Wright or something, or what's good
We did-
architecture. I don't know.
Oh boy, one of the most ridiculous things to do is to take a large project and try and run it through one of those class diagram generators or a dependency
Hilarious.
graph generator, and just seeing how spaghetti code it is. It's fun.
It's when you have
insane.
circular references and it goes like around in circles and stuff.
Yeah, good times.
Yeah.
Exams.
Exams. Anyway,
Good luck to all those who may be in an exam or working around an exam, because it must suck for teachers, right? Exam time. Or is
I
it the
guess
best? 'Cause
maybe
you
they
just
get
sort
like a
of-
power trip. Yeah.
I guess you just sit there for like a couple of hours, like probably on Facebook.
Well, I guess they
And
get a
then-
break, but then they also actually have to mark it afterwards.
They're probably-
it's
they're probably marking-
It's less work and then more work.
Do you reckon they mark other papers while they're just sat in the exam rooms?
I guess if you're a multi-exam subject teacher, I suppose.
Yeah.
And you do get a fucking lot of exams to mark. Like all the students of the entire school doing the one subject that you're the one person who knows how to understand.
You
Yes,
don't.
you don't have.
I was about to say you don't mark your own school's GCSE papers, though, right? Or
No,
for
I don't
major exams.
They post them around, don't they?
Yeah, and then another school or an independent body takes it over. and-
Yes. You have to make sure there's no corruption.
Yeah,
And then you go to university and no one gives
That's
a
what the
shit.
exam boards are for, right?
yeah.
The AKQAs of the world, or
They were talking about
Cambridge. What's the Cambridge one? Yeah, that.
Cambridge Assessment.
Yeah.
There is another one as well in Cambridge, but yeah.
Let's stop talking about this and actually start talking about something relevant and interesting.
Yeah, I don't know how did we get on this?
Because it's hot. That's how we
Talk
got
about the weather.
Because it's hot and exams. Yeah. Yeah. The weather. It is mighty sunny today, but it's also mighty windy.
It's not mighty windy.
It's fairly windy.
It's like marginally breezy.
Let that tree go.
Look at it barely move.
Difference of opinion. That's what podcasts are all about.
Clearly.
I'm trying to think if I've got any decent anecdotes this week, but I'm not sure I do really. I mean, every time I go running at the moment, I get bitten, guaranteed.
Yeah.
I've got super itchy legs right now, which you may hear me scratch occasionally.
You need to
lovely.
invent or invest in some kind of leg guarding something.
Well, I could just wear, like, I don't know, those ridiculous skin-tight running things that some people go for, like, that just cover your entire leg. But then you get warm, man. I'm a shorts runner. Except in winter when I'm an extremely baggy 90s styled track bottoms wear. That actually probably are from the 90s.
Yeah, exactly.
Where did you find them? Did you dig them out?
No, I think I've just never not had them at this point. You think it's just like the bit where the drawstring goes into the trouser. I suppose. What do you call it? What is the bit around the
waist?
The waist. Is it like just the waist of the trouser? Does that have a name? Anyway, like yeah, because the bit where the string is actually in is sort of like just torn asunder. Like so, I have to tie bigger and bigger nuts.
You have to tie bigger nuts.
tie bigger and bigger knots on the end of the string to stop them from going through these chasms of.
But you still need the string. You can't just take it out.
Yeah, can't just take the string out because I'm not that fat. I'm not fat enough to be stringless on these trousers. So yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Good.
There's my anecdote for.
Okay. Any kitchen bitchins, Egg?
Not really. I did nearly pour boiling water directly onto my hand because someone had actually cleaned the kettle, and it made it pour the water out much faster because like the filter and stuff had been cleaned.
Oh.
So I went to pour it, and it was like, holy shit!
So it was bad when it was dirty, but it's also bad when it's clean.
Well, it's only bad if there's a
At
change.
first, yeah.
Because then you don't anticipate that you tip it up because you've got used to how clogged it is, so you tip it up the same amount, and then the water comes out way faster.
Way faster.
And because I have to use a tea strainer in order to filter out all the low scale, then my hand was very close to being where the boiling water went.
Suppose we had more train pain. Actually, I tried to get to a gig for Gnome. She wanted to see this famous cellist whose name escapes me because he's not famous enough in my world.
I only know one famous cellist, and he's the one guy, I guess.
What, super ridiculous, fluffy, white-haired man?
Who's that?
The guy we went to see.
I don't know.
The guy whose name Rob can't remember, so if you said a name, you would know.
Okay. The one I know is like
there are some that I would recognise if someone said them to me. I can just never remember. Like there's a lady cellist that name's a big fan of. There's a lady cellist. Yeah, quite famous. But I can't ever remember her name until she's mentioned. Yeah, so we tried to get to that, but typically it's not the train company's fault, really. But you know, people do die on the lines a lot. Like, so we couldn't get to Norwich. Or no one couldn't get to Norwich. But the train did eventually get to Ipswich, so I could pick her up there, and we drove the rest of the way. But we missed half of the gig. And it's like,
oh no!
It's like all these plans you make to get somewhere, and it's like the irony was though that the gig was being sponsored by Greater Anglia.
Yeah, that is ironic. Yeah, that's ironic.
Maybe that was why that random person decided to commit suicide in that specific way. It's like, I'm going to fuck these guys with my last action.
Boy. Do you reckon that's why? What is that the primary reason for why people suicide on the trains? Just to get one.
Get even with the train companies.
Relatively speaking, funny.
Yeah, relative funniness.
I mean, that's like it's one of those dumb things where it's just like, if you're going to die, you may as well inconvenience someone because you'll be dead and who cares? Woo!
No, I thought the whole point, like, isn't one of the major factors of people being suicidal is in some ways that's like that they think they're a burden on the world or that they have no place.
Well,
and therefore, would anyone notice?
Well, in that case,
you
it
know?
should work the opposite direction then, because as it turns out, dying is really inconvenient for a lot of people.
Yeah,
Not like the person who died.
yeah.
And therefore, you should stay alive. Good advice.
It's actually a ridiculously selfish thing to do when you think about it.
Okay, heavy topics.
Yeah.
Good time.
Trade in vain. Right. I think it might be
Well,
time for news.
It's very rarely a good moment in video games where suicide is helpful, right? Unless you get like actually stuck.
Or like various suicide abilities that have appeared in various games over the years. I mean,
Well, I suppose
anything where you blow up and take people with you.
I guess. Well, every extend extra, when the entire game was based on blowing yourself up.
Yeah, but you don't die.
But you
That's
respawn.
just your
Well,
attack.
You sort of do, because you have a life pool in that game. Well,
Sort of.
actually, not in the every extend extra extreme, not the 360 one, but the original. Not the original, but the PSP one. You had a life pool, and you had to use that life pool to get more lives.
Yeah, I don't know if that really counts as a life pool. That's more like an energy pool.
I guess. But you had to. Yeah, your explosions had to.
Or an ammo
benefit you.
count, essentially.
Yeah.
You got 3 shots, and then if you did well, you earned more shots.
Yeah, I guess. It's kind of what you are. You're just bombs. You're just bombs.
All the bombs.
I'm the bomb.
Okay.
Mobile.
Here, guys.
Yep, bombs. We talked about video games for a moment there.
Segue.
What's going on in the world of video games? We got Sonic news, apparently.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Boy, we have to. This is a fun one. So, I think was it a couple weeks ago, or maybe
Last week, probably.
Yeah, there was a thing going around about Sonic Forces where there was going to be a third playable character
Because they showed it in a silhouette at the end of one of the trailers. or
Yeah,
whatever.
and
Dum, dum, dum.
And we speculated on, like, what species is that? And what's the game mechanic going to be?
yeah, and it was going to be, and you know, the wording was like it's a new hero as well, so it's not like a returning character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was going to be a brand new character. Blah blah blah. Turns out that this brand new character is a character creation mode.
It's you!
It's you.
It's you.
Well, it's you in anthropomorphic weird ass animal. form.
Weird ass
And the
animal
one
form.
it's got to be said, the one they picked for the trailer, quite ugly ass design. It's sort of
It's like
weird,
a sort of fox with huge NHS specs.
yeah, like Skrillex eyes, basically.
Right.
Well, they clearly wanted to be like, look at the accessories, because they don't want
He's
to
got a
have
headset
no
as well.
accessories.
Yeah.
They had to show that you have accessories, but then they put
Right.
them like all on.
Yeah, but
Because
he
it's all
looks
about
even,
hats, right?
but he looks even lankier than like modern Sonic.
But that's
like,
the
he was
question. Is
super
like,
lanky.
can you adjust the build?
Can you make him more classic?
You can change the species.
In
They
the-
already showed that.
If I could make something that looks a bit
We're
more
not
like,
just limited to wolf dog, whatever the fuck species that was even meant to be.
yeah,
How
Yeah,
many
the-
kind of
the-
basic species, though, do you think? Base
Well, there's
species to customize?
there's definitely bunnies.
Yeah. You can have cream the rabbit ears.
Yeah, I think there were some cat ears in there because obviously there'd be a cat.
Obviously. But can you be big?
Or can you be a fox? You know, can you make?
Can you be a hedgehog?
Yeah,
That's the question.
what have they ruled out? Or can you be any of the existing? Yeah, I want to know. Can I recreate exaggerated Sonic 3 Sonic?
Well, probably
Like,
not. 'cause
with
it's
massive
designed-
hands.
It's designed. I doubt you can scale. the
I
body parts.
want massive hands and ridiculous feet.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen.
I want to look a little bit like Fat Man Scoop from his from that video where he looks like Mr. Potato Head.
No, you're going to look like a generic modern Sonic character.
Yeah.
Basically, I don't know why, but that style of character generation just looks like the Sonic Boom cartoon. It's just like that because they have generic NPCs in that show, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's just like that, just looks exactly like that. So I guess success.
I suppose the lankiness especially looks a bit
Yeah.
Sonic Boom. You know, the pencil nature of the legs, for instance.
Yeah. Less bandages.
Yeah.
Oh man, they better put bandages in as an accessory.
Oh, that would be
all
funny.
bandages,
Yeah.
every limb, and like a scarf.
And the scarf. Gotta have a scarf.
So you can just bring Sonic Boom into your
Well-
good Sonic game.
Well, that was
Better
the
Sonic.
theory for a while, wasn't it? That it was going to be Sonic Boom Sonic.
Well, yeah, because they made a big deal about it at the time
Hmm.
when they thought Sonic Boom was going to be good.
Well, the cartoon's still going.
sure.
Yeah. So there's that. Like, so what the implications here are like as well? That there are gameplay implications to this as well,
Well-
because you can equip stuff that has.
Irrelevant to the character, presumably.
Well, maybe.
It
Yeah.
won't be like if you have the cream of rabbit ears, then you can fly.
Yeah. Or
It'll
but
probably just be technologically assisted.
they have described it specifically as gadgets.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, but there's like a grappling hook and some sort of exploding multi-jump thing, and like,
It's probably not going to change things that much. It's probably just going to be like, there's going to be those two and maybe one more. And then there'll be 3 routes to get through the level.
well, I wonder if it's the replacement to Sonic Generations had the kind of upgrade thing anyway.
Yeah, irrelevant upgrades.
Yeah, but there was
Upgrades that made it function the way you wanted it to.
Yeah,
rather
there was
than
a
weirdly restricted way.
and there was. I think you and I both landed on basically the same set, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
this is the way Sonic should be. So that you ended up with that set, and like I wonder if that's the sort of their creative replacement for that.
I doubt it's going to be that relevant.
We'll see. I wonder if it makes like secret hunting or red ring hunting easier on levels where you can be that character.
Well, it looks like, from the bit of the gameplay that they showed of that, they look like them sort of quite similar to modern Sonic stages, and even in terms of speed sometimes,
Well, I'm sure-
they go relatively fast.
Yeah.
So it's probably not going to be that much different. It's just going to be...
Are they even going to be different stages? Is that like going to be Act 3 or whatever in these?
Well,
lanes?
yeah, that's what you'd think. There's
Or,
gonna
or,
be the
or is it
action.
like, or is it actually just like, oh, you can bring your character into the classic and the modern stage, and
No, I wouldn't have thought so. Although there's looks like there might be specific enemies designed for that level as well,
right?
because they appeared in that gameplay and not the other gameplay, I suppose.
Sure. So yeah, it's a fascinating thing. It's an interesting move. Like,
It's a hilarious.
yeah,
And of course, it brings to mind the important question is it a completely innocent thing, or did someone look at DeviantArt?
yeah. You
Did
can't.
they just not? Did they not know? And did they? And even if
course
they looked
they
at DeviantArt, did they then like look at not safe for work DeviantArt
No,
and realise how
oh,
much
yeah.
worse it gets?
No, I bet someone at Sega has to have been going like, okay, what's the Sonic community really like?
I
They
mean,
probably
it's
did- They
it-
probably
that-
did the deep dive and then looked at it and thought, how can we sanitize this?
Yeah, but
I think it's like with Splatoon. Like they definitely knew when they created like Squid Girls what was
I don't
going to happen. Clearly, what the internet was going to do.
No, I don't think that Nintendo wouldn't have known, like, because Nintendo don't care. Like,
I don't know.
because they would have if they just put Squid Boys in the game, they'd be like, why is this
yeah,
why is this a sexist
Yeah,
video game? Like, what's
exactly.
going on here? They had to put girls in. They have no choice.
No, I'm not saying they should put girls in. I'm just saying when the theme of the squid stuff or whatever with
I don't think they
Japanese
necessarily
kind of
would have
hentai
thought
stuff.
Oh, right. Now, okay, now I see what you mean. Sorry, tentacles.
because as they
Tentacles,
said,
yeah.
they said like they designed the gameplay mechanic first and then had to come up with a logical reason for it to happen. It's like, oh, squid's an ink. Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh no, totally. I know. It's just they still knew. I'm not saying that's where the idea came from. I'm saying
Well, I'm
that
not
they
saying
knew what
I
that was
don't
going to
think
happen.
they would have thought of the connotations first. I think they definitely came up with the mechanic, then the characters, then they were like, oh shit, this has connotations. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if
probably.
yeah, but they're less prevalent in Western society anyway, right? Like the whole hentai tentacle thing isn't quite as
Yeah.
well known. And it's,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but
there's
it doesn't matter. Rule 34, man. Anything doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's true.
it really doesn't. There's probably snipper clips porn
There
You know.
it definitely is.
because you could, just clip a knob.
Yeah,
You know?
100% true.
Oh, really? Oh boy. There you go. Sonic Forces. It could be interesting. Probably won't be. But
I don't get a good vibe but then there's always Sonic Mania. But then, yeah,
the good vibe is that it's they are leaning into the Sonic Generations thing, and that was a genuinely good game.
Sure.
So it's and is regarded as such.
But
so
the thing is going to be going from like 50% good levels and okay levels to like 30% good levels and then 66% not great levels.
Yeah. Well, I think we hinted at it last time. It does bother me a little bit that it's Green Hill Zone again. Like they did that,
but we don't know why. That's the question.
Yeah,
because they always lead with Green Hills or whatever.
It's Green Hills Zone, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, sure.
Oh wait, or is that the name they used in Sonic Mania? I can't remember. But yeah,
but they always lead with one of those, and that could just be like misdirection. It could be like classic Sonic's first level is going to be Green Hills because it always is, and then something else.
Well, they should have pulled a Sonic 3, right? So then it gets like because they've already shown like a Spagonia or whatever that city is on fire. They should have pulled a Sonic 3 where like the level just suddenly catches on fire.
Well, that's what the sand's there for. They think that's the thing. They think like, oh, the sand is making it into a half desert Green Hills, and it's just like, yeah, that's not actually. A, it barely seems to be in the level, and B, it's not really that dramatic a visual effect either.
The sand.
Because it's not like they haven't made various fucked up versions of Green Hill all over every game.
Wouldn't it be great if they actually did these like transitional stages?
Well, maybe they will.
Between like zones. Yeah.
Who knows? You could get. Well, I guess. No, I guess that gameplay footage does show the start and end of that act, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It doesn't actually. There's no room for there to be any surprises. I suppose they've showed the whole thing.
No, well, not unless there's like an act 2.
So, but then they only.
If it's following the Generations formula, then they only do one per thing. But yeah.
I hope they. Well, the thing about the Generations formula is that they also had more levels, I guess. There was only 2 acts per one, but there was 3 per time period, and then that's like 9, right?
12, I think. I think there might have been.
Yeah, yeah. So that's technically more acts than you get in your average Sonic game.
Yeah.
So hopefully now that there's 3 characters, there'll still be more worlds, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that's the hope. Just the thing with all Sonic games, don't skimp on the stages.
Yeah.
It's the one thing that always holds you back in a Sonic game is the lack of stages.
I mean, that was one of the better things about colours as well.
I say the one thing.
The sub-stages in colours were a bit like,
they
challenge
had
pasted into this level.
They had short challenge levels, yeah, but they still added to it, yeah.
And also 3 acts, 3 main acts.
3 main acts, yeah.
Zone.
And it was like 6 main zones as well, wasn't it? So yeah, it sort of worked out.
Content. And this time they, apart from Green Hills, they maybe are not going to be so bound by having to be restricted into an old design. Unless this is just Generations 2. Unless time travel still is a thing.
Well, yeah, we still don't really know if they're going to like introduce new stages. Is it actually going to be like just retro stages? We don't really know.
Yeah. Because we're assuming it's Spagonia because it looks like Spagonia, but it might not be. It might just be generic city.
It might as well be. Who cares if it's actually Spagonia? It's that sort of town.
Well, yeah, but I mean, saying it's Spagonia, in Generations meant that it retained certain elements that were in the previous game.
Sure.
Like the running down lines of 3 enemies that shoot at you and running up a giant clock. And
yeah.
All those moments.
Will the engine be slightly tighter is the other question as well. Because the PC version has those hiccups on certain stages. We get those little loading-ish sort of looking bits to it. And which, well, basically the only real flaw with how that game ran was those moments. And it's which I don't think happened on console, but the console had the problem where it was 30 frames per second, which is a terrible choice. Let's hope they don't make that choice on the PS4 and Xbone versions.
Irrelevant to play on PC.
Yeah, I know. It's irrelevant to us, but still. Sonic Forces.
Indeed.
Oh, that was the other thing people were saying. Join the Resistance now makes sense as a tagline, because you're joining the Resistance. Yeah.
Well, surely you are the Resistance, or Sonic's joining you. That's got to be the... Because Sonic is just a hero, and whereas you are the Resistance, you're like a guy.
Yeah, maybe that's
forced into battle or whatever.
Yeah, maybe that's how you're narratively woven in. It's like you've been doing this for years.
Well, maybe not years.
Yeah,
for as long as the fight has been happening.
As long as the giant robots have been in town.
Yeah. because presumably you won't have any special powers apart from making gadgets. But that's Tails' thing. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But he could also fly.
Oh, but I hope that they could really play into that, though, right? Tails gets jealous.
Well, yeah,
Comedy ensues.
I guess.
They have a gadget off. Gadge off.
Yeah.
Max Gadge.
Right. Yeah.
That's the porn discussion for this podcast.
Get that out of the way early.
Next up, Destiny. It's an MMO, which probably involves some dodgy stuff also, I imagine. But
Well,
there's a
Yeah, I
sequel.
think Destiny was relatively free of that stuff, apart
Doing
from
what?
like porn.
Role, you mean roleplay in the game or porn in general? Because you know that there's porn of it in general.
Well, yeah, because it has
Not
to
as
be.
much as like Overwatch or something like that.
No, sure.
There's, like,
Overwatch is
masses
way
of
more
it.
overt about that. Yeah.
Well, and like Destiny is just like generic
Dude,
armors.
Yeah.
You don't really get
No.
to see people. Exactly. It's people-shaped armor
And dancing.
and dancing.
So, Destiny 2, what's going on? It's obviously we know it's coming to PC.
They've shown a bit of gameplay now. Is the thing?
Yeah,
so,
some gameplay.
They've shown some. Well, I haven't.
Not
In
that
fairness,
much.
if they've shown like a large, I don't think they've shown a large like sequence in one go. Oh no, there is some strike footage up there. Sorry, yeah. So yeah, you can see it, and people have actually been playing it as well. Like I think some journos and have been able to get access to versions of it, and yeah, it's a lot like Destiny.
Yep.
Like not enough has changed from my opinion. Like is the general sound of it, and it's like I don't know, bits of that footage made it look like perhaps you moved faster than you did in the original game, or that you're a little bit more agile perhaps than you were before. And the gun variety seemed higher than what I'd seen in the previous game, which is going to be helpful to the loot people.
Well, maybe, except it will be a question of balance.
Yeah,
Because if there's one gun that's good, everyone gets that.
sure. Yeah, I think that's kind of how legendary loot works in these games, I guess. But yeah, and even if you're playing on PC, it feels like you're playing Destiny. So okay, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, really.
But it's like I'm sure we said it when they first started talking about Destiny 2. It's like, why did they decide to make this a separate thing? Why is it just not like, did they not go full MMO and just keep upgrading the original?
Well, that was the
'cause it's
original idea, but obviously it wasn't as successful as they needed it to be to make that work.
Yeah,
But why
Well,
does
it's
making a new separate game make that more viable?
It's not like they weren't making money off the expansions, I guess. It's just that they sort of, I bet their sales curve tailed off, right? Expansion to expansion to expansion. And when the last one came out, Rise of Iron or something, it didn't really make the same splash as the ones that came before. It was sort of like...
That just means they should stop making it altogether, not try and continue with their dumb 10-year plan.
Oh no, but this is the thing. Like
If sales can't maintain the plan, then you're done.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. But then that's why they have stopped, and it's like they're just like, well, now it's sequel time, right? Because we can make a bigger marketing push on
Yeah,
a
but
sequel.
except it's not a sequel, really.
It's a disguise.
Almost a remake.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but
Sort of.
maybe that's enough to convince people who'd written it off to give it a try, because people are used
Yeah.
to that model of like, oh well, the first one wasn't very good, but suddenly the second one was a lot better. Like I don't know,
And
Assassin's
there are
Creed.
there are some weird perception things as well here. Don't forget, because the last one was also released on 360 and PS3, so there's a sort of element of, oh no, this is the next gen one,
I
right?
highly doubt people
And this-
remember that at this point.
I know people that I know people that played the 360 version as,
Yeah, at
as their
the time.
as their preferred version, and it's I don't know. Yeah, never underestimate the ignorance of the masses.
I mean, I think it sort of makes sense, but I do also think it is too late in a way. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just not.
Well,
I don't know. It's like
I think you've probably already answered where I was going with some of this. Like the only reason I sort of bring this up to be like, because there's a PC version, do we care?
so
Because
they're
none of us
saying-
cared about the Xbone one, right? And that's,
Well, I was wondering about it again, but I can't say the trailer is making me more interested yet. I don't know. I suppose I'd have to see how it feels. Also, there's no dedicated servers on PC apparently.
Yeah, that's not always a terrible thing.
No, well,
You
as long
even
as it
want to
works.
play the multiplayer in Destiny, or are you only
I
in
thought
it
that
for
was the whole
PvE
point.
and raids?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you in it for the strikes and the raids rather than the Crucible? But then you kind of have to do the Crucible because
because they're unlocked.
because there's sort of currency tied to it.
In this marketing as well, they're definitely relying heavily on the sort of comic character dude, whatever that guy is.
They were. I don't think they really did that on in the actual sort of gameplay trail. They only had him for a brief moment towards the end.
Ah, okay. I'll need to watch that with the strike gameplay.
I think
that would probably get me.
I can't remember what he goes. He's just like, am I right? Am I right? Oh, am I right? And there's it's real dumb out of context quote, and it's. I think that's the only bit that they show of him. Before that, they've got the other guy, like Angry Man, sort of shielding people as everything gets destroyed, which is presumably right at the start of the game. The tutorial mission, I guess.
If we wanted to play a game like that, we'd surely just go back to Borderlands.
Well, yeah, I suppose we have still got Borderlands 2 to finish, but I don't know. The shooting in Borderlands was never really its strongest element.
Well,
yeah,
it never felt great. Whereas everyone says that because it's a Bungie game, Destiny feels great, even if its content is a bit all over the place.
I wonder how it actually does feel on PC. Because there have been times when people have tried to convert a shooter control mechanic back to PC, and it's like this is just like weird and swimmy and lag.
Yeah.
The early Halo ports spring to mind.
Yeah.
And then of course if you do it right and it's just a first person shooter on PC, it's just or third person. It's just like, you then in the situation of like, the console players are at a disadvantage because they have acceleration and.
Well, they'll never cross. They'll never do cross-platform. I don't think, and even though they theoretically could with the Xbox.
Yeah.
But they probably won't because here's the other weird thing is like. Actually, well, no. Microsoft have no gates against it now. But I was sort of thinking to myself there, it's like, well, hang on, they might not because of the fact that it's on Blizzard Net. Or whatever it's called, not Battle.net, but Blizzard service.
Oh yeah, that was the news, wasn't it? It's all on the Blizzard service,
which makes it the first Activision published game or the first non-Blizzard developed game to turn up on Blizzard app. I still hate that as a name for the service. What is it? What do you call it? It's like, is it the Blizzard app or? That Blizzard hub thing.
It's quite weird that they just did that and now, yeah. I mean,
it's like
they had a name.
Even less sense now that it's called the Blizzard app to put a non-Blizzard product.
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't make because they could have chosen Battle.net. Was fine. You could have chosen a more up to less kind of 90s sounding name.
And that's
but
why
instead,
we said they should have gone for some other like snow.
Yeah,
like
Valve and Steam.
Yeah. Tundra.
Yeah, totally. I'd play games on Tundra.
Yeah, sounds alright. And then you could make Mighty Boosh references.
Glacials.
The icy Tundra. Yeah, if they called it Glacial, they'd have some trouble. I should buy that domain.
Probably too late. Right, so yeah, we shall see. Maybe there'll be more at E3 on Destiny 2.
Probably.
Which can't be that far away.
Yeah, there'll be a lot. Oh yeah, when is E3? That must be real close now.
Yeah,
like a month probably. It's usually late in June, isn't it?
I know how many years we've been covering it for 7 years, and I can never really remember.
Well, it's not always exactly the same. It's pretty close. The weeks move in the month. Stuff.
The weeks move in the month. I'm looking it up, but I can't actually. June 13th.
Oh, mid.
There you go. So yeah, more news then.
Probably. Who will show it? Will it make it to all of them again, like it keeps trying to?
Sony.
Yeah, probably.
I think Sony will get it.
Will they have an exclusive this time? Will they have some dumb thing that they get exclusively?
Sony exclusive content? Yeah, probably. They do love that. Because it was Sony that pushed the first one, wasn't it?
Yeah. That's why they got the exclusive stuff.
Yeah.
Because Bungie was like, Microsoft, and then they were like, fuck you. And then Sony was like, yeah, okay, we'll steal it.
But yeah, I'm sure Sony swooped in and they were like, we want a marketing deal. Get in there. Alright, what else we got? Talk to me about Metroid.
Metroid.
Rumours that there might be 1 or 2 new Metroid games coming soon.
To Switch?
Theoretically.
Any...
The theoretical rumours are that the more likely rumour is that there's going to be some kind of actual Metroid, like Prime style Metroid coming to
Amazing.
the Switch, which
Yes.
is awesome.
That would be incredible.
And then there's the slightly less solid rumour of the second one might be a 2D style Metroid, either on the Switch or the 3DS, but no one really knows.
Okay.
I mean, that'd be good too.
But all good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Potentially. If they can half live up to some of the Prime games, like not just the first one.
It's been a long wait.
Yeah.
Hasn't it? It's been a really long wait. So
what happened to Retro or whatever?
They were working on the Donkey Kong Country games.
Right. Well, maybe they'll come back.
Whatever that other...
Oh, what, Federation Force?
Well...
Was that them?
I don't think that wasn't. I don't know, actually. And, they lost part of Retro to the people leaving and going to do Recall or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So, technically Retro still exists, but do they? And as I think I said to Rob last week about this, when it was also still a rumour, even back then, they kind of fucked themselves by calling it Metroid. And then continuing to have to make up reasons to bring the Metroids back.
Right.
It's not really about the Metroid, is it?
They don't have to, but then why is it called Metroid? It's just like they wrote themselves into a corner.
It doesn't really matter, though, does it? I don't know.
Now. Well, what would you call it instead, though? Like the Samus Chronicles?
Yeah, I guess. Just call it Bounty Hunter. That's a terrible name.
Maybe that is what the next game's called. They're going to go all dark and edgy and just call it Samus Aran.
Well, they made like other M. I guess that's literally like Metroid is the M, and then other M is like the other M. Except not really, because I'm pretty sure that game had Metroids in it as well.
Yeah. Well, maybe they'll just become friends with the Metroid.
I mean, as I said to Rob, this new Metroid Prime game, if it exists, I'd be really happy if there weren't Metroids and there's no Phase-On. And we're done. No more Metroids or Phase-On, for God's sake.
Yeah, they definitely have to be. Well, I think they have to be done with the Prime storyline. Yeah. Right? They can't go back to that. They have to do something new. No more Dark Samus.
I'd even be okay with no space pirates, but they're just a generic enemy at a certain point. So
yeah, they're kind of
just easy to put in.
I've never really minded the space pirates. I wouldn't mind seeing them again.
But then the trouble is now the space pirates are tied in with the Phase-On and the Metroids as well. Because they're the ones doing the research on the Phase-On and the Metroid.
They were, but is that all the space pirates, right? The space pirates are quite a mysterious entity, right? They're not just a fleet, right? There's probably loads of them, or different brands of them that probably just get called space pirates.
Well, so now we're into the Covenant situation where it's like, there's the religious red cells left over for Halo 4 when they turn up suddenly.
You got the heretic. And the actual Covenant, and
I think I'd be happy with a new Metroid Prime that's quite a lot like the first Metroid Prime, minus the space pirates, where it's just wildlife. You just go to a planet and you explore, and you're the only person there, and even just only ruins, no actual modern technology, no space pirate base or anything, just old school ruin. I mean, it would probably be fucking Chozo ruins, of course, because it would be.
Because, because
you need to get your suit upgrades, and the Chozo are the ones that supply them all the time.
Yeah.
But that'd be fine. Just wildlife. I wouldn't mind. Explore a mysterious planet.
You've got to have an antagonist of some kind, though. You can't have just wildlife.
And that was, I guess, one of the problems with Prime, was the antagonist was Phase-On, basically. You had Ridley, and that was technically the antagonist, except not really, because he never did anything.
No.
And he wasn't like, well, he's not a speaking part, I guess. He doesn't really have obvious motivations.
He was just resurrected by the space pirates, wasn't he? And he was just there.
Yeah. And then the actual enemy was just Phazon itself, which is just like evil incorporated.
But that kind of worked in the first game, right? And then in the second game, they realised that it's not going to pan out, so they had to introduce Dark Samus.
Well, yeah, but that's just Phazon again.
Sort of, but personified. Like, because they...
Yeah, but not really personified. It's just generically evil again. All it wants to do is stop you from doing whatever you're doing.
But they could have planned that. It's like, oh, that's because it's Dark Samus, and it's like he doesn't quite know what it's doing, but it's evil, and they could have done something a bit more clever with that, I suppose. But
yes, we don't need Dark Samus, we don't need Phazon. We don't need Ridley again. For God's sake, he just needs to stay dead.
Mother Brain returns.
I guess, but maybe not. Bring back Kraid. That'd be funny. Kraid is like the one Metroid boss where it's like, what? How did he even function in the game he was in? But then, like, how would he function as part of the Space Pirates or whatever? Because he was, I guess, under the command of Mother Brain and the Space Pirates, therefore, logically, in that game. I don't know. So yeah, new Metroid. Hopefully we'll see something about that at E3, except probably not, because it's Nintendo. And
yeah.
They'll only have a Direct, and if they even mention it at all, it will be like Star Fox was, where they're just like, oh, we're making this and then bye.
I think I don't know what Nintendo will do at E3 this year. Like, with what will they? Because
they're going to focus on Mario, obviously.
Yeah, because they
spend a lot of time on that.
But that's about it, right? Because ARMS will be out. Well, it's probably already out. It's out in a few days or something. Like, it's really pretty soon. And Splatoon 2 will probably be out, if not just about to come out.
Well, they might still spend some time on that even if it's coming out around that time.
Yeah, there'll be a little something. But yeah, Nintendo are a bit of a wild card. Like, what else have they got? They either show something new to build Switch excitement for next year, because nothing's going to come out this year.
Well, maybe not first party.
Yeah.
There could be some decent third party stuff, maybe.
I gotta say, like, I suppose that's a slight bit of news as well. There's Splatoon 2. They did put out a single player trailer.
Yeah.
And it looks a lot like the first game, but they show a lot of different. The Inklings using a lot of different weaponry this time, which were behind an amiibo wall.
Yeah,
in the first one,
because it was more like a challenge mode. Like, you get the specific gun, and that changes the actual process of completing those levels. Yeah,
so I wonder if, because they showed pretty much all the gun types in this trailer, whether or not that's still behind an amiibo wall, or if there's enough of them that they could still do that.
No, I mean, if they wanted to not have it attached to the amiibos, it would just be like you get that gun for that level, and that's part of the actual level.
Which would be way better if that's how it's done, but. Call me a little bit skeptical. But, yeah, so, I don't know, it looked like more of the same. But weirdly, this was the moment where something in me sort of just went, ding! And I was like, oh, hell yeah, some Splatoon.
Yes.
The itch has suddenly crept up on me, and it's like,
come on.
Oh, God! Splatoon, like, being with Splatoon from the moment it launched through its life cycle was an awesome experience. There's something about being with Splatoon because of the way it handled its...
because of the way it didn't have everything in it.
Well, yeah, the constant unlocks were nice too, but the way that then fed back into the game, and like the way events would sort of feed back into some of the environmental stuff. It was a really cool thing to just see evolve. And I really hope that will be the thing again.
That's the other thing Nintendo probably have to talk about. Well, maybe not at E3, but maybe in a direct before E3. But they actually need to talk about their internet thing, because supposedly the details of that are actually starting to get finalized.
Yeah, well, surely with ARMS and Splatoon being somewhat online combat focused.
Because they did originally say at the Switch launch, they were like, it's going to be free until we sort ourselves out, I guess, at the end of the year. So maybe now they have an idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's kind of important information to know if you're going to commit
that would be
to
good.
Buying like Splatoon 2 at this point, and then you're like, at some point down the line, you're going to suddenly have to start paying more.
That is true. I had forgotten about whether or not there's no idea whether that's going to be behind a paywall. It's a subscription of some kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a... Okay, consider me tempered. Itch gone. I've
Well,
scratched
you can
it.
still play the first game.
I could still play the first one. It is still populated.
And also, you don't have a Switch.
I don't have a Switch, no. I'd have to play it on yours.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. What other news we got? Phantom Dust. You got?
Yeah. So here we go. For
I don't
those,
think this is that amazing, but
well,
okay.
no, but
Well,
it's,
suddenly infused.
well, it's just a little weird,
I mean,
right?
it's weird.
The whole Phantom Dust story is bizarre. So quick catch up was released. They put out a little CG trailer at E3 several years ago to be like, hey, we're bringing this weird thing back.
Most people were like, what? And then like one person was super enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah, woo guy in the crowd.
Yep.
And then so that then transpired that it was a remaker. They were making a brand new game in the series.
It was a remake.
No, the first, they were making a brand new game in the Phantom Dust series, and they were going to bring it to Xbone. That then eventually all fell apart, and that got cancelled. But then it came out that they were also at the same time making a re-release of the original. That part has now happened. That game is out.
And helpfully called Phantom Dust.
Called Phantom
God
Dust.
damn it.
And it's free. So after all that, this re-released game is free to anyone who has Windows 10 store or an Xbone.
Sweet. And
And-
so,
It's a. To be honest, I know very little about what the original was and stuff like that. But from the small amount that I've read, that's a weird game. Might be worth checking out if it's free, which it is.
right, check that one out.
It's a weird old game. Might as well. And maybe it's not going to be free forever. Maybe it's worth just like grab it now, put it on your account.
Cool.
Yeah, so that happened. It's just a weird end to the tale. Really, after all that effort, like they just go. Microsoft must have known, right, at this point, where they were just like, "This has been such a talked about thing. How do we try and make good on
I
this?"
don't know if it was talked about for that moment because everyone was confused, and then once it was cancelled, everyone was like, "Well, yeah, obviously." And then they just, I don't think people cared that much.
I guess.
Don't think they had to make good, especially. But
Yeah, I don't know.
unless this is
Is
like, unless they like were, unless
Is it a desperation push because of the number of the games that Microsoft have cancelled?
well, unless it was like they'd already done some work on the remake by the time they decided to cancel the actual game. So they were like, we can finish this, and then if we release this, and then we can actually gauge actual interest
Yeah, maybe.
to see if it's worth remaking.
But if it's free, then it's going to get way more interest than if it wasn't.
you can
like,
compensate for that. I guess.
okay, maybe, but by what metric? Like, what's the
I bet
free
there's
factor?
some kind of metric for that.
Yeah.
You put in one microtransaction, and that'll tell you. People who actually buy in,
Microtransactions tell you nothing.
they do. It's like if people are willing to spend money on this game that was otherwise free, that means they care about it to some extent.
I guess, as long as that microtransaction is worth something itself.
Yeah, exactly. Or you make it the shittiest microtransaction possible, and then the people who buy that obviously care about the game.
Or are idiots. Both valid options to make another one, I guess.
Yep.
Oh, only idiots with money play this game.
Yep. Still good enough reason.
Hello, Clash of Clans. Anyway. Yeah, Phantom Dust.
In the end of a story that doesn't surprise us at all because we predicted it last week, Vanquish is officially being re-released for PC shortly.
In like 4 days or something.
Yeah.
So that obviously means Bayonetta 3.
Obviously.
One rumor
Hooray.
leads to the other.
Sweet.
Illuminati confirmed.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not too much money either. I think it's come out at £16.
Okay,
I
guess.
A high probability of sale bait as well, as I think
Yeah.
like Sega's previous re-release stuff has been. I don't know if it's worth mentioning that much, but it was said at a Sega investor meeting over the last couple of weeks that Sega are planning, it could just be speak, because basically it says Sega are going to do everything, it seems. Like, we're going to make new IPs, and we're also going to exploit our existing ones. So does that mean that yeah, like Vanquish 2 is on the cards and Bayonetta 3? Because they are technically... I don't know if that's Sega owned, but they do publish them.
Does that mean things that Sega literally own?
Well, yeah, but it's like Jet Set Radio. Is this the time JSRF is finally going to get greenlit?
Yeah. I'd
That's
be
the
so
one.
happy if I could get Jet Set Radio on there.
Or Panzer Dragoon Auto, man. A re-release of that. That'd be happy days.
They want to re-release one new game.
I'd be quite happy with a re-release of Auto.
okay.
That mean that I didn't.
I mean, that one is actually slightly more inconvenient to play.
Yeah, because both, well, playing it back compat on the 360 isn't perfect, as I've talked about before. So you have to really play it on the OG Xbox, and yeah. So yeah, it's an inconvenient. As with JSRF is the most inconvenient though.
Yes, I guess.
I only can play that on the OG.
Is that true? Does that not? I'm sure
I
I
don't
played
think
that
that
backward compat on the
Did it?
360. I think I played it on the 360.
Oh, I never thought it made it, but
I'm
okay.
pretty sure I've done that. Yeah. I think it took ages, but I think it did happen.
Okay,
So
cool.
it's possible. But regardless, that console's
Still pretty
in the cupboard anyway at this point.
I did contemplate, even though if I couldn't actually play it, because obviously you had the copy of that when we played it.
It's
and
mine. I got it
yeah,
on launch,
like-
pretty much.
A bit of me was like, oh, should I just buy an OG Xbox copy, even if I can't really play it? It's like, just to have it, because it's such a cool game.
Yeah, it's an awesome game. Yeah, here's hoping. Right, what else we got? Square are selling IO, is that right?
Yeah, so this is a weird one that Zach sort of dropped on me a few minutes before we went on air. It's like, just think about the outcome here. So, like, IO Interactive, I think is the full name. They're the guys behind Hitman. Like, you know, the recently incredibly successful Hitman.
Well, apparently not that successful. Not successful enough for Square Enix, who, like, Tomb Raider want 3 million or whatever.
Yeah,
Or more than 3 million.
I'm glad
Right.
you brought that up, because that's not the first time Square's like expected sales figures have been ridiculous.
Well,
And, like,
apparently Hitman, you know, didn't sell that well, relatively speaking, even compared to Tomb Raider and stuff.
but then its DLC pickup must have been pretty high, because people stuck with that, right? Because of the way its season structure.
Sure.
Oh, but it wasn't DLC. Oh, how did it sell in the end? Did you have to buy each zone?
I don't know
or,
how they packaged it. I don't know.
or did you just buy the game and everything just came?
I don't
Or
know.
were both a thing?
And there was the fact that, like, there was time-limited stuff, essentially.
Yeah,
They,
that's
like,
kind
roll
of
Oh,
out
sure.
new time-limited missions.
Well, those are still being rolled out.
Yeah.
The elusive target stuff is
How much
still
longer?
still happening. Yeah. Yeah, how much longer is now the question. That seems like a very closed-minded, like numbers only driven decision. If that's true, if any of what we've just said is true, because that game was one of the breakout surprises of last year, of it actually being good and actually being as critically acclaimed as it was, and they've just seemed totally deaf to it. It's bizarre. Unless the flip side here is that they've actually just hired, maybe if they've hired a lot of the IO staff for themselves anyway, and it's now just going to be a Square studio, and like then they're just selling the remnants. I don't know. It's just weird. It's almost as weird as Nintendo cancelling the NES Mini. You know, it's like it's that level of what? What are you doing? What's the logic here?
Yeah. Boo sucks. Someone else to pick them up and that actually cares about good games.
And
problem is,
that's the
like
question.
Game of the Year
Do
type
they get to keep
things.
Hitman?
Yeah.
Who gets to keep Hitman?
Yeah, I bet Square. Square must own Hitman.
That's a real shame. But it looks like they basically did what they wanted to do.
Yeah, kind of. But they've already announced a season 2. Is the thing. Season
Right.
2 of Hitman content is going to happen. Maybe not anymore. No one knows. More news to come. Stay on the news desk for
Cool.
back of Hitman news.
last bit of news is this little bit about
Dan's internet.
Oh, well,
that's the news.
that is still news. Dan's internet sucks.
What is the last bit of news? You must have told him this.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe. Let me stare across the room. No, we've covered what we had.
Well, okay.
Yeah, that'll do.
He's back.
I was just about to say about the HTC Vive having a standalone SKU now, for non crazies. So that's kind of interesting in the VR space, I guess, if they're because I don't know. It depends on the power level of it. Like, will it be a kind of PlayStation? Well, I guess no, because the PlayStation VR has the PS4 to power it. So will it be?
What even is this?
Will it be like buying a phone that only has one purpose and can't make phone calls?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Yeah, because HTC are a phone manufacturer, aren't they? So no phone, no PC, standalone VR. That's what they're saying. So, but that does sound like you're buying exactly that, Zach. Like you're buying a phone that you can't use except for VR.
We're going to see Nintendo do the VR thing that we speculated in the rumored about.
Supposedly, you could attach a Switch to your face. It's in the patents or whatever.
Yeah,
so
they're trying to do it.
They won't.
That'll be it, easily.
Yeah. Anyway. So yeah, we'll see how that one pans out. Coming later this year, apparently.
Yeah, if anything, that's the least sensical. It's probably cheaper than buying a full-on phone, right? Because they probably don't need all the antenna stuff in it, right? It probably doesn't need.
I suppose so.
Cellular 4G crap in there.
But you could make it be a full console based on Tegra or whatever, like a Switch type thing. I'm
not saying it's impossible. Yeah, it could happen.
If you wanted better 3D performance than a phone, and not be encumbered by all the other stuff that a phone has to do, you could basically make a NVIDIA Shield tablet that was attached to your face only.
I mean, how has phone VR actually taken off?
Well,
I see it advertised a lot.
It's definitely a sort of
Galaxy seemed to push it quite hard. Samsung.
Yeah. There's definitely a sort of ecosystem around it. It seems to be obviously, Ho, she works for a creative agency that does a lot of stuff with that in terms of but it seems to me to be mostly events and things, or what do you call them? Come to our booth and try on the headset and look around this thing or whatever type thing, selling cars and stuff like that.
But then you don't have the full-on head tracking to do I want to really lean into this hubcap.
Well, it's not too bad. It's not.
Wait, that works? What, sort of head motion stuff?
Yeah, head motion stuff.
Surely the accelerometer stuff. Yeah, I get the direction it's facing and that element of it. But if I sidestepped.
Yeah, well, obviously it's not nearly as good as the Vive with the cameras on it and the lighthouses and everything.
But how does it even do it? Is it?
I think there's some stuff in it. I don't think it's just plastic. I think it has some sensors in the. I
know, but how does without an external thing to see where it is? How does it do it?
I think it needs recalibrating a lot. I think it gets out of sync with what is reality quite easily. But I think it just does it by dead reckoning, I suppose, and a bunch of accelerometers, and the maybe uses the compass. I don't know. Yeah,
it's weird.
Anyway,
I guess it could sense the force in a direction without a rotation is a movement in a straight line. I guess. But then,
what?
Yeah,
I certainly don't know the nitty gritty of that, but I know I was surprised when I tried one of those phone based ones that it was not terrible. It was fine, and they'll only get better. So, and if this one is a halfway, because what they realized in these, for these applications, is that the fidelity isn't that important. It's more important to not have the cable and everything, because otherwise it's just too involved for people to just quickly try on and be like, whoa, I'm under the sea, or I'm in a plane or something.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the I guess it's the way to encourage VR as a platform. It's not a terrible shout, is it? It's quick. Anyone can try it. Get a bit of cardboard, and then you're effectively going. Yeah,
exactly. Google Cardboard. Anyway, that is the news. Da-da-da-da.
That was the news.
It's time for what you've been playing. Whose turn is it this time? I keep forgetting.
I suppose it depends how much Zelda you want to talk about.
Well, who hasn't been playing Zelda? I'm guessing Zach.
Well, yes.
Because I have his Switch.
Okay, I'm going to start with Zach then. What have you been playing, man?
Okay, we'll end with the Zelda first.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm going to talk about Zelda when you're talking about Zelda, obviously, too.
Yeah,
I'm part of that conversation still.
Of course.
But,
what have I been playing? Well...
We didn't talk about Eurovision. That just suddenly dawned on me.
Why would we talk about Eurovision?
Because we always talk about Eurovision.
Do we?
Yeah.
It wasn't that interesting this year.
No, it was,
anyway.
it was quite a tame year. Saxman was cool.
And, the winner who shouldn't have won.
Boy, yeah. How weird is that? Like, I don't think anyone that I've spoken to about Eurovision has particularly gone, yeah, that Portuguese guy, he was amazing. No. A lot of people have said, like, when they did the winning song at the end, and his sister came out, and it's like, oh, if they had done that as a duet, that would have been brilliant. Because she was actually probably the better singer. Yeah.
Anyway.
Sorry. Yeah, Eurovision. Tame year.
Yep. Not so much comedy. Apart from they brought back...
They did bring back my favourite Eurovision act of all time.
But not to do their song, though.
But no, they didn't sing it properly. They should have done.
Yeah.
And also the acts during that sort of dance act with the orchestra thing they had during the voting break. That was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, fairly cool.
A proper show.
So anyway, Eurovision. I played Rocket League, but I don't need to talk about it except for the fact that they put in a new car that specifically it has the exact same stats as the Batmobile, except it's customizable, and I thought that was kind of funny because it was like everyone uses the Batmobile because of the stats, but then you're stuck with the Batmobile. So they were like, "Oh, we'll just take those stats and then put it into a car that we can sell and allow you to customize."
Oh, interesting. Weird. What's so special about the Batmobile?
Yeah, what's so good about it?
It's one of those like long flat cars. I think it has the longest hitbox, but it's also one of the flat ones. Like the breakout, the other the brick, the flat brick paving slab car.
Does that mean that you're? I'm trying to think what the benefits of that are. Does it actually make saving easier? Because you can just sort of charge in, and you've got that little bit of extra length.
Yeah, I don't know why that actually matters to the pros, but that's one of the reasons for why people use the Batmobile because it's long and flat,
wide and flat.
No, long and flat. It's actually quite thin. The funny thing about how I always use the van is the van that has like the thinnest and tallest hitbox.
Right, yeah.
I mean, obviously, from the look of it, although you don't necessarily think of it as being the thinnest. But I mean, it is.
Not, but I guess it is, yeah. It doesn't have any wide arches or anything like that. No, there's no flair to the van.
No.
Apart from its giant booster on the back.
When are they going to remake the van? Like they've done for some of the other bodies. But no one cares about the van apart from me.
Yeah, because they've done other off-roaders, haven't they?
Yeah, they did the other big...
Isn't the Marauder truck the closest?
Yeah. They did the other big truck. They had a remake.
I suppose, like, if you're on Xbox, you could use the Armadillo.
Yep.
That might be pretty close.
I'm almost, like... In some ways, I always don't want them to do it, because I feel like it'd be hard to make it... Because when they did the Marauder, they fancied it up and made it look like an actual vehicle, I guess, with, like, gas tanks and stuff. And it's like, I'm not sure you can really do that with the van.
No.
It just needs to look like a van.
Why they haven't done it, because it's like, what do we do with a van?
Yeah, I guess.
Put an extra grill on it, put like a bull bar on it.
Yeah.
Just have Mr. T hanging out the window.
Oh, yeah, exactly. You can maybe make the side panels look like it opens or something. Give it a bit of a side door.
Oh no, what if it opens up and the inside is customizable?
That would be cool.
You can catch the ball in it.
Oh, and the other thing that happened, I guess, with that same update was they brought back Neo Tokyo as a regular flat map. Now they got rid of the weird Neo Tokyo. Disappointing.
That's a bit of a shame.
And also weird to play on, because once you don't realize it, but I was trying to work out why it felt weird, and it's because they have the big score thing that goes over the goal, and it goes all the way across. But because now it's just like a normal shaped map, it's like way wider, and that changes like your depth perception because you're used to that shape above the goal being a certain width, and it's the same texture essentially, only spread over the whole width of a normal pitch.
Yeah. Okay.
I was like, why is this weird? It's like, oh.
So because you're used to judging it as a certain size. Yeah, I get it.
It was quite strange. So yeah, that kind of sucks, I guess. I like Neo Tokyo. It was weird.
It was a weird. It was a sort of a mix-up level, wasn't it, in the middle of it? But I can see why they probably do that. Is that only in ranked as well, or is the original still in cage?
No, you can only get the original if you're making a custom game.
Yeah. Not even in the labs?
No. Well, because it's not a labs level, I guess, technically. And I guess labs still doesn't technically exist either, because they never put that playlist back in.
Yeah.
I think the labs levels appear in Rumble. I think if you play Rumble, it will sometimes make labs levels.
Yeah, because that did happen when we were playing Rumble last.
So maybe in Tokyo will still appear in that. Potentially.
Yeah, I guess. For the anything goes mode with power-ups, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. People still quit all the time whenever Starbase comes up.
Really?
Like, you join into a Starbase and it's like, how many of these people are going to leave? Out of the 6. Normally at least 2. Just like, suck it up!
Yeah.
You're going to end up playing this level in ranked at some point, no matter what your voting is set to.
Just sip from the MTFU cup. Come on.
Very down work, boy.
Yeah, that probably came out on the recording.
So yeah, that's Rogue League. I stopped playing Golden Sun because of something that I probably forgot, but I probably was aware of last time I played it. And the reason for that was that, like, when I can't remember why I was looking for this in general, but I was looking in my documents folder, and in there was a file called Golden Sun Guide. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember downloading that for this game specifically, not for like the old games. I remember that it was for the DS game. I was like, oh yeah, I remember downloading that. Maybe I should look at that. And then I was like, well, this game isn't exactly hard. Why did I even need a guide? I'm sure it was just like to find something that I missed at some point because, you know, there's a world map. So at some point you're like having to go back to places and be like, well, I just walked past that by accident and didn't remember to go back there.
Sure.
And at some point I also had paper notes of places in Golden Sun, that game specifically, where it's like a place that I hadn't got the psi energy for, and I was like, I might not remember, so I'll just write it down, and then once I get that psi energy I can go back. But it turns out maybe the reason I had originally downloaded that was the same reason that happened this time, where it turns out that in that game there's like 3 separate point of no returns, and if you miss anything, you're fucked.
Right. You
can't go back and get it. So then when I realised that in this playthrough of the game, and I looked at the guy, I was like, oh yeah, that's probably why I downloaded this guy. So the next time I played it, I would have had the proper lists to know not to miss things. So I basically screwed myself again. And then
you see it too late. All right, you found the guide too late.
Yeah, I realised why that guide was there, and I was like, oh. Well, that's bad, and then I just stopped. And I did continue playing that.
You need like a sticker on the cartridge saying stop.
Because it wouldn't have been an improvement over your last run.
I would have still missed something.
Yeah. That is quite depressing when you realise that, especially if you're replaying.
And it's an RPG, of course. Yeah. Like, you don't want that. And it's an RPG with like a world map too. You think when you've got a world map, when you get to the world map, you're like, well, now I can go back to these places that I've left because now I have a different way of traversing the world.
See, I'm not 100% the idea of content that you can miss in a really big RPG. Like, because, you know,
it depends how like critical the content is.
Oh, yeah.
Because in this one, it's like the gins. You can miss those, and it's just like, well, you want all of those. It's a complete collection. There's a very precise number, and, you know, summons and stat bonuses.
Oh, yeah. And well, FF8 had the completely missable GFs, right?
Sure.
You could not get Carbuncle.
They were slightly less important in the grand scheme of things, I suppose.
I suppose.
It's just like a way to do large amounts of damage, but you could always just reuse the same ones over and over.
Well, not all of them had that, though, didn't they? Like Carbuncle just cast Reflect on everyone, didn't it?
Yeah, but that's still not that useful for a start. But
Yeah, it depends.
But yeah, being able to miss stuff kind of sucks. And also, like, just before I stopped playing it, I also remembered about that game where it's like, as soon as you reach the world map, it feels really weirdly like, it feels like they did the same, it feels like they ran into the Wind Waker problem, where it's like, it feels like there's like a bunch of content cut and they just cut, you're just like on this sudden rush to the end of the game.
Oh.
As soon as you hit the world map, and it's like, it feels like you should have been able to explore more, because there's almost no reason to explore. You just go to the next island, and that's where you have to go, and then to the next island, and that's where you have to go.
Wait, you mean as soon as you get to the world map, suddenly the stakes raise? Like...
Well, it doesn't really raise... Well, I guess it does raise the stakes. There's a big event that forces you to go into the world map, essentially. Oh, well, I could... The real world map, like when you have the ship and you can sail around, not the constrained world map where you're walking along a specific path between towns.
Oh, right. No, okay. That's not quite the same thing. I can sort of get that. Because that's like... The moment that always comes to my mind is I think my favourite world map moment in a video game was Final Fantasy IX, actually, because that world map looked real... Like, it was the first time that world map was rendered as... like
3D,
well, no, not 3D.
3D.
But actually... pretty good 3D for the PlayStation.
Yeah.
Like they didn't hold back on the rendering of it, and that the sort of the music of the world map in FF9 was cool, and it was like, oh no, this is a moment. They presented that real well.
But really, in FF9, it was better like the second time. The first time you were in the Mist Continent and you're stuck in that valley essentially, and it's like this doesn't seem like. And then you go out, and once you actually get out to the real world map, it's the same thing.
Well, I think I kind of liked it because it was like just like the Mist Continent was actually misty, right? Well, it was represented as being misty, and it's like, ooh, this is kind of cool.
There wasn't much to do in it. You were pretty much just walking from the one place to another place.
I don't know. I liked it. Whatever. It sticks out for me.
Not as impactful as getting to the actual map, I didn't think. But then you have to
get the
airship.
I suppose it was quite a big deal in FF7 as well, because it's like the whole leaving Midgar.
Yeah, because you spent so long in Midgar.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, it does feel like the Wind Waker situation, where it feels like there should have been more content in this back half of the game, which might not even be a half. And you just seem to... The only locations seem to be the places you need to go, and you find them pretty much in the order you need to go to them. Like, you start off on the world map, you sail to the right, and that's the first place you have to go for the main quest. Then it's like, oh, I can sail north, but then that doesn't really lead anywhere, or I can sail south, and that's the next place I need to go. So it's like, where this world map doesn't feel like it's exploring.
But
and
but then I don't think any of the I've only played the first, but I don't remember
the second one was a lot bigger.
Exploring.
The second one was a lot more expansive and had you going around in the ship for a lot longer. And I don't remember when it happened, but you unlock a ship ability that lets you fly over like reefs. So that unlocked halfway through the world map, you unlock more areas of the world map essentially. So there was some exploration in too. But yeah, and also I think this world map is actually kind of small in the DS game. Like, it looks big because you can see a continent that you don't go to, I think. It's basically like Golden Sun 1, which is weird to say about the DS game. It's almost like they were planning on making another one in the same way the first two were two halves of one game. This one feels sort of similar, where it's like, this seems kind of lacking in content in this second half, and there's this whole segment of map that you don't go to, probably because you were meant to. Kind of sucks. Disappointing. So then after that, I said, fuck that. After I said fuck that, I went back to Mario and Luigi, Dream Team Bros.
Cool.
And started playing that again. And that game is still nice. It's still
nice. It's a nice game.
Like, nice Nintendo product, where it's like quality and, I mean, it's just quality.
Just quality. Just a polished thing.
Yeah. Just a solid thing to play, and like, it all works. It's not overly complicated, but that's fine.
Because that's Nintendo.
Yeah. And then, there's certain elements of it which are better. like music and stuff. It's obviously good.
Is it still the best one in the series, you reckon?
I still prefer the first one out of all of them.
Oh, really?
Because it was just
the Superstar Bros, or was it?
Yeah. I just like that one the most because I guess it was because it was the first one. But also, I just kind of like the pixel art as well.
Right, yeah.
To a certain extent, that helps.
Because how is it done? Is it sort of 3D looking models? I can't remember. What was the style they landed on?
Well, in this one, Dream Team Bros, it's the weird like pre-rendered sprites.
Yeah,
where it's like it's the same animations, but like rendered out as though they were actual models, except they're not. And then the world is just a regular ass 3D world, which is kind of nice. The animations are good. And then you become Mega Luigi, and then he actually that's a real model, and it looks slightly weird.
Right.
As 3D models tend to at a certain point in Nintendo games.
Was that actually a 3DS game, that one? Or is
Yeah.
it a regular DS? It's actually 3DS.
Yeah. Actually worth having the 3D on.
Yeah, because I remember that some of the special moves like use it really well.
Well, some of them do, and some of them it just turns off because it can't. Like,
Right.
there's one of the early Luiginary attacks.
Luiginary.
It's imaginary, but it's Luigi.
Nice.
Because it's the dream world. One of those attacks that you get early on is controlled by tilting the 3DS. So the 3D just turns off while you're doing that and then turns back on afterwards.
Okay, I bet, because I guess that was before new 3DS, where they could have done,
Even then, I don't know if that would work for tilting. I guess it
it's
would.
Pretty good. The news eye tracking is pretty amazing.
But you can theoretically just push the button and turn it back on during that sequence if you want.
Oh,
so
really?
Maybe that would still work with the new 3DS.
Yeah, maybe.
And it's not as noticeable as you'd think because of the way the scene transitions. You don't see it like suddenly go whoop
right,
at the end of the 3D or the 2D.
It'd be cool if they scaled it right into 3D, so it'd be like,
well, I think it does do that for some of the other ones where the transition is slightly less well hidden. It's like in that attack, there's like an explosion or whatever at the end that covers it up.
Right. 3D on that Paper Mario game must be pretty cool.
Yeah, you'd think.
Yeah.
And then it also does another weird thing where when you get Mega Luigi and he gets big and it turns into a different battle system, that makes you turn the 3DS into book mode. It's like,
oh, really?
In the middle of the game, it just randomly like, oh, we'll just do this for a minute. And then it's touchscreen controlled because you're like controlling it on that screen and holding it vertically. And not 3D, obviously, because then the 3D turns sideways. It's just like they threw everything in for no apparent reason.
That's
They
cool.
just thought it would be. It's like, and it works for a change.
They didn't. They may have thrown a lot of ideas in, but the ideas themselves are still solid each time.
Yeah, I mean, again, not overly complicated, but they work. I haven't got the bit with the beef roast yet.
Oh yeah, I remember the beef roast.
And that's the other thing that's good about that game is just the writing, of course, because all of those games have somehow had pretty good writing.
Amazing localization.
And it's funny when Bowser is talking to the other bad guy, and the other bad guy has a traditional vampire accent with lots of V's, and then Bowser's like, "Say it, don't spray it." That's like, okay, that's pretty funny.
Man, I love those. That whole style, like from. I don't even know if it must have been in the original Paper Mario, right? As well. Like
I think so.
That whole age of their games and how they're presented, just fantastic. And
also weird, like occasionally. I mean, this is just a traditional Nintendo thing that keeps happening, where occasionally there's things in it where you're just like, this is weird if you stop and think about what's actually being said. Whereas there's like a Toad who's talking about how he wants to go and post photos of his holiday on his blog. It's like, what does that mean? Where's the internet in Mario Land?
Well, yeah. You'd think they have it because some people have especially in Paper Mario, right? People have mobile phones, and in some cases, isn't.
I guess.
Doesn't the organizer at the wrestling ring?
Yeah, I think that's the one I was trying to think of.
Yeah.
That might be a walkie-talkie.
I guess, yeah.
And just because the crows talk about fat pipes doesn't mean the fat pipes actually exist. That was probably just a comedy thing.
Well, yeah, and it could actually be about, literal fat pipes in Mario.
I don't know what the language specifics were that, whether you could get away with saying that. You were just talking about actual pipes.
No.
That could have
Well,
just,
you know,
that could have just
in the
been
world
awful.
where like Professor Egad is communicating for a Game Boy, you know,
I mean, he's an inventor. He can get away with that. He makes those himself.
I guess someone would have commercialized them. Some toad.
Well, yeah, but they don't appear anywhere else. Well, I guess Thousand Year Door has the SP as the communication device as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because you get
and
mail
you
from
send,
Peach.
yeah, it's got email.
I guess. So there you go. The internet does
Isn't it
exist.
actually called SP mail as well?
I think so.
Yeah.
A speed mail.
And also, she can send email from the moon. I mean, that's impressive. Guess we don't know how far away the moon actually is in Mario's universe. You can get shot to it with a cannon, so probably not that far away.
No, I guess not.
Although cannons also in Mario's universe are the most efficient form of travel for flying through space. Essentially, just fire yourself out of a cannon, and you're good, because that works somehow. Mario logic. He fires himself out of cannons all the fucking time.
Yeah. You just have serious physical problems.
So there's that. I played some more Factorio, obviously. There's
Obviously.
Videos continuing. I'm done with that playthrough.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
not done uploading the videos, of course.
How many parts? How many parts do we expect? Because there's 5 so far.
There's a lot more than that.
Oh boy.
I think there might have been somewhere in the region of 25 parts.
Holy cow.
It's fine. We uploaded 36 parts of Final Fantasy VII. That's my excuse. It's less than Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, but we did that over the course of like 2 years.
That was also the only thing we were uploading. Rather than I'm doing these as extra uploads, essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
It is filling the recent list.
Well, that is the problem. I was thinking maybe we could just temporarily rearrange the YouTube page to not have the
Not
most
have the
recent stuff
recent
at the
list.
top.
Yeah, maybe. But then how do you know what's new?
Yeah, that is the trouble. Anyway, so yeah, I finished that playthrough. Well, sort of. Finished it as much as I was going to. It ran into spoilers for the upcoming videos, but it ran into the classic problem that I always have in Factorio and always forget, where you never have enough resources when you think you do.
Mm.
You set yourself up and you're like, this is surely going to be enough, and it's not.
Mm.
Just automatically assume that you're going to need at least twice as much as whatever you just thought of.
Estimates.
Yeah. Oh, but I mean,
Project planning.
I excuse myself in this patch because they did actually change the resource usage of the science packs and stuff. So I couldn't have necessarily known.
Right, so you were working on an old assumption.
Well, I was working on quick maths, not actual maths. I have an Excel sheet where I'd already calculated the previous version.
You should have run it through that MATLAB.
Yeah, exactly. I'd already had this Excel sheet where I calculated the previous version's balance of resources for the science packs and everything. But then when I'm recording this new one, I'm just I'll just look at the number of iron this science pack uses and just sort of guess. Be like, oh, you use that much iron in this much time, so that probably means I need about that. And I was wrong. I underestimated severely. So yeah,
Alright.
and I experienced all the new stuff: nuclear power and nuclear weapons, and a few other bits and pieces.
Nuclear.
Nuclear power is extremely overpowered.
Hmm.
Or well, once you can get to it, it takes a long time to be able to sustain. Because basically, you mine up uranium ore, you refine it, and it separates into good uranium and bad uranium, essentially, like real uranium does. You have the stuff that you could actually use in the power plant and the stuff that's just leftovers, essentially. And that has a 0.7% chance of giving you the good stuff, and then all the rest is crap.
Hmm.
So you have to sit there for a long time to even get a usable amount of the good stuff. But then the way you actually get more of the good stuff is there's then a subsequent technology you unlock to enrich the uranium, which basically allows you to turn the bad stuff into good stuff.
Hmm.
But you need to have a starter pool of the good stuff. You need 40 of the good stuff to be able to run the process, and it outputs 41. So you're basically converting some of the bad stuff
into.
You
put the 40 back in.
Put the 40 back in and then filter off that one. So it takes a long time to get there, but once you get there, and you're using that enrichment process on the huge amount of crap that you've built up from getting that 40, then you're basically good. You never need to worry about power ever again, because the nuclear reactors put out so much power. And they have like adjacency bonus, so if you build two next to each other, they basically output twice as much as they normally would. So having two reactors gives you 400% power.
How is adjacency bonus a thing?
Well, it's to do with, I think like they say it's to do with like the heat transfer and stuff, because it's
Right.
the reactors output heat as like a new way of transferring the energy, rather than the traditional boilers where it's like water goes in and steam comes out.
Right.
So you're
Just
heating up the
generic
water
heat.
directly.
Mm.
It's just like heat is like it's not counted as a fluid like water is, like it could have been. So yeah,
Okay.
you get the fancy reactors, and then you make a nuclear bomb. And it doesn't really have a proper. It's not. Doesn't look like a nuclear explosion, but it does do a lot of damage. It's just basically uses the normal explosion graphics that they use for other explosions, but it just creates a ring that radiates outwards and just decimates everything inside that circle. So it's really powerful, but also really expensive, because obviously you're having to use your good uranium, and quite a lot of it. So it's very late game. But
just for getting rid of the alien encampment.
If you want to just annihilate something real quick.
Have an emergency one.
Yeah, make sure you don't accidentally fire it in your base. That's the important thing.
Did you do that as well?
No, but it would be quite easy to, because of the way targeting weapons works in Factorio. And also, I think the nukes, I don't know if the nukes can auto-fire or whether you have to use the target cursor. Because normally there's two different buttons for firing in Factorio. You have space, which just targets the nearest thing you can shoot. And as soon as you're in range, it starts shooting. So you just hold it down when you're fighting biters and just drag your mouse cursor over them or whatever. And then you have C, which shoots where you're aiming. So that's more for like if you're using the shotgun, you can shoot in a specific direction, or like if you want to use the shotgun to clear trees or whatever.
Right.
And I'm not sure the nuke can, because even if it does use both, say you had the nuke equipped and you accidentally push C, and then your mouse cursor is just somewhere on the screen.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You're completely fucked. Fire that directly into the middle. That's the reason I don't. That's the reason whenever I'm in my base, I always equip the submachine gun, because the shotgun will fire whatever direction you're facing when you push the button, even space. I think the shotgun will just fire, and then like that, you end up shooting your own factory. Whereas the machine gun does not. The machine gun has to have a target, unless you use C specifically. So yeah, don't blow your own shit up. It's important. Top tips. And then I started a new game of Factorio on Death World settings, where the the biters evolve a lot quicker, and everything is more expensive to make, which makes it basically a race against time to not get overwhelmed.
No, I see. That seems sensible.
Well, the trouble is, I say it's a race against time to not get overwhelmed, but it's like they've upped the biter evolution so they evolve faster, but they've made everything more expensive. So in reality, what it means is like you're just waiting for stuff a lot more, because you have to increase your production so massively to overcome that multiplier of resources that's put in there. So especially right in the earliest game, like just making one more mining drill takes way longer than it used to. So there's quite a lot of waiting around.
The early game's not so good.
And obviously, because of the way the biter evolution has been increased to include pollution, it's like, so if you do up your production massively, that also makes the biters evolve faster. So then you're sort of wanting to constrain yourself anyway. And then you have to wait more. It's like, I don't mind.
Would it have been better just to have improved the evolution speed rather than make the resource costs higher? So
maybe.
Just increase the aggressiveness. So like
you can have that setting as well. That's just called dangerous instead of Death World.
Right.
Death World is basically, there's the different settings like that. You have Death World, which is the more dangerous biters and more expensive stuff. You have dangerous, which is just the more dangerous biters, and then you have marathon, which is just the more expensive stuff. So it's like Death World is the combined marathon and dangerous, essentially. So yeah, there's that. And that's probably mostly it. I did try streaming some more, but I wanted to try the new OBS.
Where can they find your streaming?
Very rarely on Twitch. HSZ, I think, is what that's
sounds
called.
right. Yeah.
But I wanted to try the new OBS, the OBS Studio.
Oh yeah.
Wanted to try that to see if that solved my mysterious Rocket League problem where it just like locks up.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. So that's obviously a problem with actual Rocket League / my internet connection.
Or some kind of conflict between everything.
Yeah. I might try turning the bitrate down and see if it's just like, but it shouldn't even be anywhere near my actual upload cap at the bitrate Twitch wants, which is like 5,000.
I still think Rocket League is picky anyway.
Well, as I said, I think it's just like the weird slight lag spikes I occasionally get in Rocket League. It's just some combination with the OBS upload. It like amplifies it and then it jams up. It's quite strange. Kind of sucks because I probably would stream that more if it worked.
Yeah, sure.
Because it's not like I don't play Rocket League a lot.
No.
Oh, the tournament's actually going to happen.
Yay.
For real this time. Maybe starting tomorrow.
So what team should we be shouting for?
Our team is now officially called Nintendo Download Express, I think. I don't know why.
Has it got the I think on the end?
No.
That'd be even better.
Does it have a hyphen? The X is an X. Express.
The hell?
I don't know. All the team names are dumb. There's one team name that's just called DAM. DAM. And it stands for something. I don't remember.
Right. Damn.
So yeah, that may happen. And, there's been talk and the possibility of, actually live streamed on Giant Bomb if you get to the final. Who knows?
Nice.
I have no perception of how difficult this is going to be.
You'll soon find out, I'm sure.
I guess.
Or you might be a piece of cake.
Yeah, it might.
The Giant Bomb's a pretty big community.
Yeah, and, at this point, it's people who are still playing Rocket League.
Sure.
And that sort of self-filters a bit.
Sure, but there'll be a minimum competency. Well, you hope there's a minimum competency, but then your lemon count is pretty high.
My personal level count.
Yeah.
I mean, the teammates that I'm playing with, they seem fine. They're lower than me, I guess. Might be equivalent to you and Rick.
Well, that's fine then.
Yeah.
You'll do alright.
Probably.
You'll do 100% average, like we always do.
Yep. Seems like it. So yeah, there's that. That's maybe going to happen. Maybe I'll save some replays or something. I mean, I'll probably save some replays if anything cool happens, as I usually do. And I was playing on American servers to train myself. Although lag isn't real actual lag, rather than lag spikes, isn't as nearly as bad as you think it is in Rocket League. If it's just a constant 100 ping, it's not really that noticeable.
Well, yeah, because you were telling me as well that actually the weird thing is that it seems like American people playing Rocket League just have the same ping as you playing Rocket League.
Yeah, it's like I hadn't really thought about it, but because obviously America is large, some people just have bad pings, so the ping range on American servers is much larger than it is on European servers.
We're lucky, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. That's that. Now we need to talk about Zelda, I guess.
Well,
Zelda
I got
times.
two other things. I have actually got two other things to talk about.
Really? Even though you spent the last week before this where you were like, I can't play any game ever.
And I didn't, really. Well, actually, no, that's a lie. I got a little bit of Professor Layton time.
Well, okay, when you're travelling. That's your travel game.
Pretty much. I just wanted. The only reason I wanted to bring that up was because that game threw a bit of a curveball.
After all this time.
Yeah, after all this puzzling, it's like it suddenly went into a bit of a sort of a dungeon. Like there's a dungeon section with puzzles, rock pushing puzzles, just that aren't presented in they're just presented as
the actual physical movement.
Yeah,
rather
something
than just draw a line.
Yeah, something you kind of have to do to progress, and it just that section went on for way too long.
Okay,
I was quite bored of it by the end. I have got through that section now, and I'm back to the. It's like it does these flashback things where it's like, oh, here's a story that unfolded in the past that is very obviously spoiling who the main antagonist is.
Sure, I mean it's one of those kind of games where it's like
it's really obvious
immediately,
really obvious.
It's the guy who's called Evil McEvil.
Well, no, it's not even that. It's, well, spoilers, I guess, but it's the guy who was your friend who it's mysteriously
He's never mentioned in the present.
He's never mentioned in the present, but it's known that he dies.
Okay.
So yeah.
Oh, do you mean?
I mean, the twist will be if it's not him.
Well, okay, that would be the best twist if it seems really obvious and then it's not.
Yeah.
Well, I say that would be the best twist. That can also there have been
It's just
times
someone
where that
random where it's like nothing, no one to do with this backstory at all. It's just like, oh, I'm Dr. Robotnik turns out.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. That can be good, although it can be dumb in a different way.
yeah.
Because out of the blue twists are bad also.
I don't know. Sometimes they can be all right. Like it's just like, wait, what's happening? But perhaps you don't make those your main game plot twist. Like, I don't know. Then again, that bit in Bayonetta where you're suddenly riding a missile in space.
I don't know if that counts as a plot twist exactly.
It was quite bizarre. And the credit sequence that gets not allowed to finish.
I don't know. That's been done.
Yeah,
I don't think that's that surprising even.
it was a bit bonkers. You were just like, what's going on? Anyway, yeah. So there's a little bit of that. The other thing before we get to the Zelda onslaught is I did go and finish the Nexus challenge in Heroes of the Storm.
And what did you get for your effort?
So, well, the week one stuff was you get the Officer Diva skin for Overwatch, so it makes Diva look like a cop.
Yeah,
I mean it's a pretty cool skin. It's worth having, and then you get like a cop bike as a mount in Heroes of the Storm as well. So yeah, I got that, and then I forget what the rest. There's like the second week was a boring old spray or something, or like some nonsense. But then the main draw is if you manage to do all 4 weeks worth of challenges, is you get 10 loot boxes in both games, and it's like, oh, okay, that actually seems like a reasonable target to gun for. So we did. And I got that.
Did you get anything out of those loot boxes?
I haven't actually opened my Overwatch ones yet.
Oh.
I opened all my Heroes of the Storm ones, and I didn't get that much interesting out of it. I did get a hero out of it.
Okay.
Like as a purchasable item, getting a hero in HOTS is actually, I guess, something.
Yeah.
Well, getting anything, I suppose. They're all purchasable. That's how that game works.
Yeah, I suppose.
But the heroes are the things you want, I guess. And they did also, like, in the last week, reveal that, hey, Diva's now in Heroes of the Storm.
Yeah.
So as a purchasable thing. I guess because Overwatch launched after Heroes of the Storm did, they're sort of slowly moving more and more Overwatch content into Heroes of the Storm. And, yeah, she looked like she could be... It's an interesting touchstone because all those Overwatch characters seem to play quite a lot like how they do in Overwatch in Heroes of the Storm. Like they've been able to almost one-to-one map their abilities.
Well, it's because they basically have abilities that are like MOBAs.
Yeah, but it's cool because it means I can pick up when I first started playing the game, I went to Lucio because it's like I kind of know how he's going to play, and that was a real help to me to be able to get into the game. It's like I know how he's going to act, and for the most part, yeah, he acts like that. Although his wall riding stuff is a bit bizarre. Like there's quite an emphasis on like, oh, he gets extra defense or extra abilities if you're wall riding at that precise moment in time. So always be wall riding, which is a bit weird, and hard to pull off. But I guess you need a pro strat.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm starting to actually understand the game a bit more. You know, it took a little while. Like, I went through a phase. I think last time I was looking at it, going, "All right, what just happened? And how did I die?" And to be honest, the last few times I played it, that has been a lot less. I think I'm starting to get it. And weirdly, I've got the thing like Heroes of the Storm has the thing where every map has a gimmick, right?
Yeah.
That you have to play to, and I kind of wish there was at least just one that didn't. Like, that sounds weird for me, because the gimmicks are what drew me into the game. It does make the map more interesting, maybe. But I think maybe as a palette cleanser, you need a level where it's not gimmicky. Like, and that would actually fit. You'd have ones with the crazy stuff, and that's fine. And just to have one without would also be fine. Just boring ass, this is the Nexus or something. Like, this is the level kind of thing. But then would everyone just gravitate to that? I don't know.
Yes, but does that become the pro mode?
Yeah. I found myself having more of a good time with that game than I expected. I really did. I think it's all right. Like I'm still hung up on the fact that I do screw up the control frequently because it's RTS control, it's MOBA control, and I would really I still think those games would be way better if you just moved your character in the WASD sort of fashion and then fired off the moves as you wanted, maybe using the mouse to assist, to do that stuff. I still think those games would be much better if they played that way. But they don't, so whatever, you're stuck with it. And yeah, I had a good time. But boy, it's a lot better if you can play with a team of 5 people on chat.
Well, naturally.
Because we did that with, because it turns out Scottish John from my old Cambridge crew has a posse and chat rooms and stuff, and we linked up with them, Kippers and I, and had some really good games. And yeah, if you get a team together, a lot of fun is to be had. It's a cool thing. It's not weirdly that whole thing about like MOBA rage and like people get like super frustrated, and it's like when you've got your team together, that's not a thing. You can't like.
Of course it isn't.
Well, yeah, but you can't just like point. Yeah, because the Kippers and I playing alone, it's like, oh, you definitely get lemons. You get people AFKing. You get people like feeding. Like clearly just walking into battles they have no place being in.
Yeah.
And it's like, ugh. You get your team together, all of that goes away, and it's a properly good thing.
It's not saying anything about like personalities. It's just saying like you're just not stuck with random people.
Yeah, and people that don't just solo in those games are the worst. It's like you can be a random and not be an arse, right? That's the thing. Like, you can support and still play well. You don't have to go out on your own. And
well, yes, that's the main thing about every multiplayer game ever, like Rocket League and everything.
Yeah,
that's why there's a separate queue for solo free versus free versus standard in ranked.
Sure.
You go in there and then you know that everyone is going to be a single player, and if they suck, then you can call them lemons because they're lemons.
Yep.
It's not because they were the one person who wasn't communicating and everyone else was. Everyone has equal opportunity to communicate.
As usual, there's these good experiences though did get me thinking. Is like, would you or ever play a game like that? Would you like? Because we talked about Dota at one point, and it's like maybe we should. And we know that a friend of ours, Barlow, got into Dota big for a while, and it's like maybe there's something to it. And it's like I still think Dota is way beyond what I'll ever want to play. I don't think I will go that far, but lots is a good time.
Yeah, I think I don't like that controls either.
It is a problem, for sure, but it's something you can overcome.
And I think that's like it's the same problem that I had with, I guess other similar games where it's just like I was exposed to one kind of it, and then I was stuck. It was like I like Monday Night Combat, and then that's it.
Sure, yeah. And to this day, it's still the best, in my opinion. Although Paragon seems to be doing all right for itself, and that's a bit more direct control MOBA, right?
I guess.
A bit of me is wondering whether that's worth checking out. But then Smite is that as well, right? And Smite is still going.
Well, and the other trouble with this situation is that like none of them are like stand out enough to make you care. I guess.
No.
If you're not
but
inherently
Paragon
interested
hasn't set
in
the world
that,
on fire, has it? Or nor has Smite. Like
No.
neither of those two games are like well known enough. I guess.
It's just like if you're not inherently interested in that style, and you think if there's any part of it that you don't like, then it doesn't matter what the game is, and there's so many of them, and they're just like you don't know what about each one might be better than the others or whatever.
But then I'm still not 100% sure since Monday Night Combat there's been one that will tick all our boxes.
Well, no.
That's
why we haven't played it.
It's about trying to get close at this point.
Yeah, but then you don't have to play it. That's the other option. Don't waste your time doing something that's not something you necessarily 100% want to do. That's probably why I stopped playing Dark Souls and stuff like that. Where I tried, and Witcher. Like I tried, and then I wasn't 100% enjoying it, and other things were available.
Yeah, that's where you and I differ. You can stop.
Well, your problem is achievements,
don't.
though, for some reason.
I finished. I have to finish.
It's not like you can finish HOTS. Not like there's
No.
achievements, really.
I don't know.
I mean,
Oh,
there's sort of
so that's a wildly different thing. But like with single player games, like you said, it's like, oh yeah, I have to finish.
I don't think you do, though. I think you
Maybe it's just one of the games
exposed to that kind of like if you had if after our video you had tried playing Dark Souls, I bet you would have stopped.
Maybe.
Regardless of there being achievements, because there are in the Steam version.
Maybe.
I don't think you would have continued. It's you don't get exposed to that level of.
Well, yeah, Dark Souls might be beyond. Yeah, but what you're saying is I play bad games, but not bad enough, or games that I am too against.
And the other thing with like our Steam videos is the games that you get stuck playing there are the small indie things where it's not actually difficult to get the achievements.
Well, I suppose I haven't played that much Contraption Maker after we did that.
Well, yeah, but that's just
and the achievements seem really awful, like actually quite egregious in that. Like, there's a lot of content, and actually, like some of this, you'd have to specifically set up levels to jip the achievements in some cases.
Yeah, when it's just a grind, you can escape.
And also Coin Crypt.
Yeah,
that was the other one I didn't attach to, or didn't feel the need to really play.
Yeah, but that's still your percentage game, where it's just like how much percentage of these achievements can get versus how much time would I have to spend doing it.
I suppose there is a bit of that.
The Rob calculations.
Speaking of which, I should really go back to Aero because I reckon I can
get more of those achievements.
I reckon I can complete that.
You've already got a lot of them.
There's one that I don't know how to get. There is one hidden one.
I hate him.
But I have no idea. I've seen the icon for it because you can, but I've got no idea what it is. Because it's not tied. All the other achievements are just tied to progression, and I reckon I'll get through master difficulty. But yeah, but that one I've got no idea what it could be. Because it's not even the most rare achievement is the thing. Some people, like quite a lot of people, have got it.
That doesn't necessarily mean it's difficult. That could just be something like
one
of those things that you don't see unless you're looking in a certain place at a certain time or something.
I have no idea.
Those are always the worst, like for hidden achievements, where it's just like do a specific thing that no one would ever think to do.
Which is a shame. Owlboy was full of them.
Oh well,
it had a lot of like those exploratory achievements.
Not exactly though. I mean, there was two. There was the main one where it's just like hit your dude 1,000 times.
Oh yeah.
Like, why would you ever do that unless you were
the one I didn't do.
grinding for an achievement?
Yeah, that was the one I didn't do because it's a bit ridiculous.
It didn't actually take that long if you do grind for it.
Oh, did you get it?
Yeah, you just stand there and hit the button for like a couple of minutes.
Okay.
It doesn't actually take as long as you think it would.
Right. Maybe I should do that because that's the one.
The game.
Yeah, that's the one stopping me for getting the completed rank.
So yeah, Rob has problems with achievements. Eternally.
I like achievements. The worst ones are the ones you know when you look at a game and you're just like, that's an achievement I'm never going to get.
Well, the worst ones are the ones where it's literally impossible to get.
Well, some of them are like the ones that bother me are like in Redout, for instance. There's one for win a race online. And it's like, for starters, getting into an online game is practically impossible because there aren't that many people playing it.
Sure.
And secondly, when you do get into a game, the people playing it are obscenely good.
Yep. Well, any online achievements are always like that.
Yeah. I think it's Zelda time.
Yep. I think it probably is.
So what happened? You lent Rob your Switch?
Yep.
Okay.
It's not like I'm using it.
Complete with dock and everything.
Yeah.
So now I can give you the Rob perspective on both the Switch and Zelda, I guess.
Okay. Sock it to
the start of Zelda, yeah. So let me talk about the Switch first, actually. Like, let's get the actual machine out of the way. I do really like that thing and the concept of it and how I'm actually using it in both handheld and docked form.
Yep.
More and doing the Switch more than I thought I would, actually. Like, I thought it's like, it's going to be docked, I'll just use it as a console. And it's like, no, actually, there's quite a lot of occasions where no one's watching the telly, or we're sat on the couch together and something needs to be on, but I want to do something, and actually drifting off to use the PC. I would still do that, but I'm not going to.
It's only 5 more feet away.
Yeah, I'm not going to stop doing that. But actually, being on my brand new couch with the Switch is really nice. I like that. It's and it being using it in handheld mode is is impressive.
Yeah,
like it's satisfying. Every time I use it in that format, I am satisfied with the experience. And, I don't even... It's the only time I use the touchscreen, but, going into sleep mode. Like when you bring up the menu and then go tap, tap, tap. And it's I actually like that process. Weirdly, that's a thing. And it's I don't know. That stuff I really like. That said, I have had a couple of technical issues. One being the left Joy-Con, the classic left Joy-Con? I can't talk. What the hell's wrong with me? The left Joy-Con transmission thing that I don't think that Zach will never experience, right? Because the way you use the thing.
Yeah.
So it's not a problem for you. But for me, the range of the left Joy-Con isn't long enough.
Well, I blame your coffee table.
Well, yeah, maybe because it's
very
metal.
reflective glass.
Yeah, but still, that shouldn't be a problem. It is a problem, but it shouldn't be. And that it is just random disconnects and on just the left side, and that happens frequently enough that is super problematic. My solution has been to actually just move the dock so it's in a position where I can actually pull it out and put it on the floor a few feet further forward.
Oh no!
Like old GameCube with a handle style, and that does mostly solve the problem. So that's a concern at this point.
But I have that hot day one Joy-Con, which might be shitty.
Yeah,
who knows?
You might have the one without the ridiculous foam they have to pump into it.
Yeah.
I haven't had your battery problems at all.
You haven't noticed the battery problems?
I haven't had a single. Perhaps I haven't had a long enough session.
Yeah, if you've been using it more in not dock mode, you probably wouldn't have.
Oh no, yeah, I've
recharged every time you attached it.
I suppose I have been recharging it every time, except for right now, but they're not.
Yes.
But no, I've not noticed.
That was really the one reason that I played it not docked, was when the charge of the controllers ran out, and I had to play it not docked in order to charge them.
Right, sure. Yeah.
It's if I wanted to continue playing, I had to undock it.
Yeah. So there's that, and I had one oddity today where I couldn't get the console to output in anything other than 480p.
Weird.
Even though the option was set to 1080, it was still spitting out the crap signal through the dock. So, and I got really worried for a moment.
You probably should.
Yeah, because it's what have I done to it? And it's so I turned off the whole setup and turned off, fully reset the switch, so put it into properly
power
off.
off. Yeah.
Turned everything back on, made sure I booted the switch in handheld, docked it. Problem was still there, and I'm like, oh god. But then actually that time the setting had switched to being in 480p mode, and I could switch it back to 1080, and it was fine.
Maybe it's just it was some slight glitch in your HDMI setup through your amp or whatever.
Possibly.
Where it accidentally got jammed on the wrong signal.
It did confuse the TV a bit, because my TV is normally pretty good at keeping its settings, but every now and then if something goes that it doesn't expect, like a low quality signal, it will swap from the just scan mode, which is clearly what every TV should just be on, to 16:9, which is weirdly zoomed in a bit. So I don't know why that exists. It's such a weird thing. Why don't TV you've built your TV with this specific resolution? Show that resolution. So dumb. TVs are stupid.
Yep, as always.
Anyway, but that's all I've had. I think it's a quality little device, and I've watched a few little trailers on it and stuff through the news panel and things like that.
There's a few that exist.
Yeah.
Did you try the Sniffer Clips demos?
I haven't. No. I will probably try and see what that's like with GNOME.
I tell you, it's not very long.
No. Well,
as you would imagine for a Nintendo demo.
Do they have the usage restrictions?
No.
You can only play this 10 times.
This one is unlimited.
Okay. I did have a quick look to see if there was a fast RMX demo, but no luck.
Yeah, like Snipperclips is the only demo.
Yeah. I think that's
Which kind
true.
of sucks.
I really want to see what Fast RMX looks like more than anything. I know how it's going to play because it will play the same.
Yeah.
But like, apparently the visual improvement that they put into that apparently is noteworthy. So I would like to have seen that in action, but I can't really justify spending the bones to play that game on your Switch.
Yes, obviously.
Other than maybe you would play it afterwards, and I would grow the church of fast racing.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Zelda, boy, that's a game.
Yeah.
Zelda, that is a game.
That is a game.
It's a game and a half, I would venture to say.
It's
Quite
enormous. Like
It's fucking gigantic.
It's big, but I must be more than, I thought I was 12 hours in. I must be closer to 15, like 16 hours into it, something like that. Because it has and that's only like in 1 week. It has become the game
Well,
that I've played.
that's what you do. So
That's it.
Yeah, well, more so.
you've just had time to also play it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've had quite a good amount of time this week to actually play stuff. But yeah, it has overtaken what I want to do in a way. Like,
Hopefully, you still want to play it to some extent. You're not just forcing yourself to do it.
no. That's what I mean. It's like it has one of the biggest draws I think I've experienced in the game for a while. Like that is. Like, if I've got downtime, I want to be playing Zelda. It's like I was doing Happy Salad videos yesterday, reluctantly, because I wanted to be playing Zelda, and Let's start with all the positives first, because like always, I'm gonna do what I normally
Into the
do, and
negatives as well.
get stuck in the negatives, because that's what I can talk about. Like
Yeah.
that's me. I'm the critic,
Yeah.
most critical of critics. But that game has just a sense to it, that a feeling, you being in that world gives a sensation that I'm not 100% sure I've ever felt in a game before, with the possible exception of Red Dead.
Right. Yeah,
Like,
I can see that. Yeah.
There's it's weird. Like, it does the open world thing in like, despite it ticking a lot of the open world boxes, it is so completely different. In like, so the thing that I get from, like, there is a relaxation and I don't even know where to start. Is the problem with this? It's like, the first thing obviously you get is the atmosphere, and it's like it's possibly the most relaxing open world space to be in.
Well, it's because it's like you're not constantly under attack.
No,
like, you choose to engage.
Like,
Mostly, yeah.
Mostly, yeah. Like, things will jump out of the ground occasionally, but like, it's just wandering around. The fact that it's not playing an irritating musical score the entire time.
Yeah, that stuff's
the
genius.
little blinks and bloops everywhere. Like, it's that feeling, like at the end of a day, especially when all you want to do is just sit down and chill out, and you can put some Zelda on. That's amazing. Like, it washes over you, and it's exactly what I need. Basically, this game, like, that sense is exactly what I want from a game right now.
I think it's genius that they've split up that. For me, I don't know about everyone, but for me, the way they've split up the dungeons into these tiny little shrines, I'm always excited to find a shrine. I'm never like daunted to like go in and, because it's going to be hours of gameplay. Where
well, I guess that was true at first, until I discovered a couple that were like irritating. But we'll come back to those.
Yeah,
like, and I do wish the shrines had. So far, they all look the same. I kind of wish that there was a bit more variety in the internal design.
That was pretty much the only like criticism I can remember from Zero Punctuation was exactly that.
Yeah, I mean, I know they're going for something, right? It's like, you clearly know you're in an old, chicer environment, I guess, and it's consistent, but perhaps too consistent.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So there's that. I think, it is worth like just repeating that thing about the music. It is both strange and brilliant. Like, because just the fact that the world doesn't really have a tune is probably the best move they could have made.
Yeah,
and like,
it's really
just
good.
a little. Oh, the weather's getting nicer, so we'll play that. like sort of little,
Yeah.
almost like the morning theme, right?
I'm
Yeah.
also kind of disappointed that it doesn't have
Yeah,
the
I
classic
know.
morning.
That because I thought that was the morning theme
Yeah.
for a while. That's sort of, and it's like, I really wish that would have actually been there.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
The trouble is that used
Piano
to
version
lead
of that.
into music.
Yeah, sure.
But
So
it doesn't
wouldn't make
need
quite
to.
as much sense.
Yeah, it could have just ended at the
Yeah.
and just stopped. That when there is music though, and I'm not even the town music's fine, no problem with
Yeah.
that. But when there is music though, like the combat music and the weird guardian music, and even when you're on a horse music, it does feel a little bit like someone just let a cat loose on a piano.
I think the combat music is wearing on me now. I think that just general, like there is a threat
The normal
nearby
fight music,
music. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, that could do with a bit of variety sometimes.
It's just like I know what they're going for with the Guardians as well. It's like, oh, they're machines, and let's play weird. Gonna, like, especially when you see the big roaming Guardians in the world, and it is just someone with getting their hands and
Well, that's important because then you hear that little tinkly bit at the start, and you know you're about to get locked on.
Yeah,
You're like,
gets
I run
screwed.
behind something.
Sure, it works in place, but
Yeah.
I wish there was more. There was a bit more music. in a way, that
But it does have like
I like the Guardian
thing that's
theme.
good about those musics is that they have the awesome like end of fight sting. Like
Yeah.
when you kill
Oh, sure,
a
yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah,
You
that's
get to
awesome.
do the little bit.
yeah, or the ding ding when the like camp chests open.
Mysterious bell out of nowhere.
Ding,
Yeah,
ding,
yeah,
round
yeah.
over.
And I don't know if you've noticed, but when you do these tests of strength in the Guardian,
I've done one.
and you're
I
fighting.
did the minor one
Yeah, sure. As you probably should.
because
Don't
I
do the big-
stumbled on the modest one first.
I found the major
And then-
one first, and I was like, I've just broken all my weapons. I think if you go back to the Saladcast,
Yeah.
that's quite
Oh,
funny.
You found the major one first?
Yes.
Like,
There's one. It's the one off the coast of Hatano.
yeah,
You can
it's
see
on
it.
the island, isn't it?
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah,
the
so
way I
my
got
logic-
that was
my-
from the modest one. Like,
Oh,
because
I
they're right
hadn't
next
gone
to
up.
each other.
I hadn't gone up there. So my logic was go to Kakariko and then go to Hatano for the tech lab because they Kakariko, and then go to Hatano because they tell you the tech lab's there. And then on the way to the tech lab, there's a sign going down, and you get a side quest to clear out the beach. Go down to the beach,
See
beat
the
up the
truck.
guys, see the island, go over there, and then
Oh, I
make the
see.
chest of strength. That was my
Yeah.
literal progression from the start of the game, and I was like,
Right,
oh dear.
So I didn't do that beach that long ago because I've got to stay on the good, stay on the
That
good.
beach is
yeah,
quite
I'll come
hard.
back.
Yeah.
As I was saying
Yeah.
about those tests of strength, I don't know if you noticed, but if you use a Guardian weapon against the Guardians in that shrine, you get a different bit of music. Like
Ah,
you get
no.
a sting mixed into the middle of that track.
Because I do that. Use the weapons against them. Quite. I like the Guardian weapons.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, it's not that different. It's just like it is just a sting, but it's like I hit you with a Guardian weapon and it plays a slightly different transition.
cool.
It's kind of cool.
Very cool.
I always like that kind of reactive music stuff.
Yeah, me too.
That's a thing that exists. Thank God for FTL.
Yeah.
That was like,
Some of the FTL soundtrack came on the other day while I was working, and it's like, this is a really good soundtrack.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
like that was the cool thing about Twilight Princess, right? When you get into the stabbing the boss in the eye mode and you get that stupid bit of music.
Oh yeah.
You're stabbing the thing. That was so funny.
It got really happy about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else we got to say? Yeah, I think that those are my major ups. I think I like that it's very hands off as well,
Yeah.
which is it's so unlike a Nintendo game.
What, just like go, I don't know, vaguely go this direction between those two
Yeah.
mountains, probably,
And-
but you don't have to, whatever.
And that things are so far away. Like there's like more than ever before. This game is about the journey. I know, like people say that it's not about the goal. It's about the journey. And it's like,
It's about the exploration, though, isn't it? It's about the adventure, yeah.
yeah.
It's
And this has that because it so doesn't tell you about.
Because you
the
don't even
world.
know where you're going,
Yeah,
really.
it's just like you are on an adventure. You are
Yeah.
without memory. You are like here's the just go and do these things. Good luck, mate.
Yeah. Pretty much.
It's like a better version of the classic Skyrim thing of like you just walk in a direction and do whatever you come across. Except in this game, it's like
much better.
yeah,
much better
consistent.
done. Yeah.
And not quite
I mean,
such a commitment as Skyrim.
Because people said this when this first was about to come out, that it was like going to be Zelda meets Skyrim, and it's just so reductive, isn't it? Because they've just made it so much. I can see that, but they've just made it so much better than that.
It's so its own thing, and that's an incredible thing to achieve in a space filled with open world games. That they have somehow made something new. And clearly, the Korok seeds are the best thing about the game.
Oh, they're amazing.
Right.
Well, actually, the guy himself, who you trade in the Korok, he's the best. He's Hestetsu, or whatever his name is. He's clearly the best character. His little dance is so awesome.
Yeah. They're satisfying every time. And, but so is finding the seeds. Like,
it's brilliant.
Maybe you just haven't found enough yet, though. Maybe that will start to wear you down eventually.
I think I found like 30 odd.
How many did you get, Zeg? I'm over 100 now.
Yeah, I got like 500. I got enough to get all the upgrades, basically.
Right.
And then
500.
I was done with the game at that point.
Well,
so.
see, I found like 30 odd already, and I'm like nowhere bored of it. Like, there's a ring of lilies, right? Where do I dive into that? There's like, there's a mysterious unfinished stone circle. Oh, I know what to do with that.
Yeah.
That rock is really weirdly placed. I better pick that up.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
That's
I
awesome.
love that. I love it.
You could just wander doing Korok seeds and nothing else.
Exactly.
Ages.
The satisfaction of figuring one of those out, like even if they're
does it count as figuring out exactly though? I mean,
some of them
the first time when you realise you have to put the block into the place on the stone thing, it's just like,
oh sure,
that's what you're going to do every time.
Every time, yeah.
But then
they do get more complicated though. Sometimes
more of them, like the apple trick and like the.
Oh, okay, yes. As I said, you're still at the point where the new ones are still happening.
I'm still finding new ones, yeah.
Yeah.
Or like, even sometimes where it's just like, oh, I've climbed a tree and there's a thing here. Or, oh, I know what the little paper windmills mean. There'll be something if I go there. And
sure. Yeah, they are still
the leaf race.
And the ones that do have slight variations are like the windmill ones.
Yeah,
it's like these can be slightly different. So that's
pretty bad at hitting small targets like acorns. That they
can be really difficult for some
Yeah.
unspecified reasons.
It's like I do understand why they put so many of them in there now. Like now though, it's just like, oh right, like because you're not going to stumble upon the vast majority,
and because there's just like a lot of space to put them in.
Yeah,
you may as well put something there.
Well, yeah, that's the other. That's also worth picking up on. It's like there is a rather large for an open world game, especially a massive one. There's a rather large amount of nothing. In that there's a large amount of environment where you're just wandering around and you don't find anything.
Yeah. Some bits.
I don't know if that's a problem or not.
Yeah. I'm sure if that was Grand Theft Auto, they'd have like put in more detail there. I was thinking about this the other day, but it doesn't detract from it. I don't think that much really, because there's more like the Korok seeds are actually something to actually do, which you might find on top of a mountain. Whereas if you go to the top of a mountain in GTA, it's very pretty and you can jump off it and everything, but. But
it's a realistic top of a mountain where there isn't anything.
Exactly, where there isn't anything. Exactly. And it's like, I don't know if it was I do think the world feels like, especially in the mountainous areas and stuff, it does sort of look like or feel like it's been dragged out in a tool, a topography tool, and then then they've come in and like decorated it, but they've run out of frame budget or whatever. So this is just the level that they've got to, and I think it's really effectively done. Like the grass is a thing is so good.
It's actually kind of amazing that the hardware can do that.
So I think it's effective, but it doesn't have like it that you can still see that in a way that you can't in like the Grand Theft Auto world, or maybe
you can still see the repeating assets essentially.
Oh, I guess, and there are a lot of them for sure.
Yeah,
like there's a lot of like, you've seen this particular tree layout, you've seen this.
But I think it's
this speed tree.
I think it's worth it to make the world the size that it is on the hardware for sure. I wouldn't have traded it for a smaller like. Because you need the expanses to be moving through and stuff to feel like you're on that adventure and stuff. It's not like there's big areas where there's nothing. It's just that there's definitely corners of the map where there's a lot less. Let's say.
Sure. Yeah, and I've definitely been up a mountain or two, and then like got to the top of it, and been like, "There's nothing here." That was like a complete waste of time.
But at least you can glide down.
Yeah, which is
Give you
great.
a launching point.
And you can see out. Yeah.
And it is. It has to be said. It is slightly weird that it takes you about 10 hours to get to the combat tutorial.
Well, you could. I don't know if it takes you 10 hours.
Probably. Well, it took me. It took me a really long time because
Why?
I was being
What would
quite
you say?
exploratory.
What's
Like,
the combat tutorial?
It's the shrine at Kakariko.
Yeah.
Oh, that one.
Oh, yeah. Maybe not 10 hours actually to get there, but it was quite a long time. And then it's like, oh, here's how the combat works, and you're like, really?
I mean, that's why I said
Like-
several times on the podcast where it's like getting to Hatano, that's the real end of the tutorial, and that's why a lot of people were like kind of screwed themselves when they thought that the getting off the plateau was the end of the tutorial. Because if you just immediately leave the plateau, you don't get that combat tutorial. Like if you don't follow the main story, at least to Hatano.
Perhaps I should have mainlined it more than
But
I
that's
have done.
basically
But then-
where it ends, though. That tutorial, right? Like you go to Kakariko or whatever,
Well, yeah.
because
But that,
the guy says go between those mountains along that path, and then you
Yeah.
go to the horse place, and they're like, oh, the village is up there, and you meet Hetsu on the way up there, and then you're there, and then there they say you should go to Hetano, so you go, and that's it, right? That's
sure.
basically
that's
where it
what
ends.
that's what I'm saying. It's
So
like
this is-
that is the real tutorial, and
Yeah.
the people who had heard that it was an open world game and saw the obvious barrier at the edge of the Great Plateau, and they were like, okay, as soon as that goes down, now I'm in an open world game and I can just go wherever. That's their
Yeah.
mistake.
So I think I have sort of fallen into that trap. Although I was still heading in the right direction, I have been exploring or trying to explore a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that's to my detriment because I've clearly been walking into fights and stuff that I'm not supposed to be dealing with.
Sure.
But
It's
some of those are
lucky you can run
even
away.
just on the route to where I'm supposed to be going, though. There's a bit of road that's a loop near the first stables, I get, or just past the stables or something.
There's past the fort, like in the valley on the way to Hatano.
Yeah,
There's
that's it. There's
offshoot that
it's
goes
like
down.
but that's a really
Yeah.
hard area because it's filled with moblins, and you haven't really fought many of those up to that point. And it's, I got really frustrated at that point because biggest criticism, here it comes. I don't think the combat is that hot.
Well, yeah, it's not.
Mm.
It's like uncomplicated is
Yeah.
its main problem.
But because of that, it's unnuanced. and, like it has a lot of stuff going on,
I mean, there
but
are-
I think it screws you over more than it, I think, intends. Like, so it has I think the camera is problematic. I think enemies
Yeah.
can attack from all angles, and
I
a
have
lot of
problems with
ones
the
you
camera.
can't see. Like the knockdown is fairly generous. So if you get knocked down, like it takes you a long time to get up, but
Same
you're
applies
given
for enemies.
you're given a lot of room while that's happening. Unless you roll down a cliff and take a ridiculous amount of roll damage
Yep.
for some reason. That's a thing. Roll damage.
Well, it's like full damage. It's just like it's speed based, I guess.
Number of times I've died from roll damage while on a mountain. It's weird, and the number of things that can one shot you early in the game.
Oh yeah,
It's a
you
big
one
it's-
shottable. Yeah.
I really don't think that's done that well. Like you just walk up and it's like, right, you're right in the way. I need to get through you to where I want to get to. Like, I'm gonna have to go into this combat scenario, and it's like, oh no, I've been screwed up by what I hit
Yeah.
coming off screen that insta killed me. It's like great, and then you come across the electric things. Like the electric bats are probably the worst thing I've come across so far
Electric
because they're like
keys,
bzz, 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 constantly, and you're shocked, and you have no weapons, and it's like, what do I do? I'm dead. It's. I think
Obviously, that
has-
gets easier.
Sure, but I just think that's some serious problems there. Like especially.
Yeah, shoot with an arrow.
But then they just sort of like you're fighting the electric wizrobe. They just sort of spawn,
Well,
and then you
those
don't know that they're
bastards.
there, and then they appear next to you off camera and start zapping you. It's like, well, I'm done. I'm done.
Well, that guy's a
I remember-
bastard.
I don't remember what I did on that first electric wizard because the first time I saw one, well, obviously the first time I just died.
There's one on the way up to Zora's Domain, isn't there? Is
yeah,
there
that one
electric?
in the
Yeah,
swamp. That's the
that
first one
Yeah.
I saw.
That's the first one I came across.
But yeah, like
guy's a
the
bastard.
first time I saw it, I just died. The second time I saw it, I just like crouched far enough away that I could just shoot it with arrows for a really long time before it actually worked out where I was.
Yeah, right.
So I did quite a lot of pre-fight damage.
Well, I'm starting to run out of arrows, though.
Now you won't once
Yeah.
you go up the Zora's the main path.
Okay.
That's where you harvest the arrows.
Okay.
Yeah, you just
you're
keep
not
going
doing it
back
on the
there to
Grateful
harvest
Zone.
arrows. Yeah. But yeah, I have a problem with the camera where when I
Oh, no,
dodge
wait,
left
I
and right,
remember.
the camera doesn't follow, and then I
No,
find
that's
it
really
hard
weird.
to which
It's like
is
they
a-
changed how Z targeting works.
yeah, they changed how
Yeah.
It
Z
doesn't
targeting
work
works.
the way it does used to.
I
Yeah.
find it.
I don't
Yeah,
know
I
why.
find that problematic. I find it's butting up against because the world is a little bit more freeform. I guess. Like I'm finding it especially when there's trees around, that the trees are just obscuring the view and not fading out quite well, or the camera's trying to not be in a tree, therefore screwing up what you can see.
Oh, I don't have it that much in the general
I-
gameplay, but yeah.
No, I think it's a real bore like most of the time, or it's just not as you say, because of the non-rotating thing, that it's like you're not quite in the right position half the time, and then how you actually Z target, I think is problematic sometimes as well, especially when you're fighting something that phases in and out of existence, and to retarget it, you can't just have the camera facing the right direction. You have to push to face the direction as well to Z target at that moment. But that might not be what you want to do because you're running away from the thing, especially
Right.
if it's like the boss, or a mini boss like the Hinox, or whatever it's called, Hinox.
Yeah.
I mean, I just gave up Z targeting Hinoxes basically and just do it manually.
Right.
Yeah.
Just aim up, shoot the eye, stab them a lot. Standard procedure.
And the Hinox is also the one time where I think the actual hit zones of the attacks are way off. Like the punch, just the simple punch move he does, you can be like a good several meters either side of that fist and it will hit you.
Well, that's like shockwave though. And that's what it's meant
not
to
not
be.
even. Like you could be like in the air or like
Yeah, I don't
just,
think that being in the air actually works. I had that problem with the later Lionels where they do their ground pound move, and I think being in the air doesn't actually count.
No, it definitely doesn't. It definitely doesn't. But
Which is what you
that
logically think it would.
that fist move for sure, like that can miss you by a mile and you'll still get hit. And it's like that really bothered me. It's like, come on, that's an easy one, guys. Sort that out. But then, the first time I found found a stone talus, like, the first time I discovered that, and it's just like, oh, here's something I haven't seen before. Oh no, oh, this is a thing that's just in the. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
let's do this fight. That was cool. And it was a hard fight, but like that didn't feel like a bad fight. And it's got the interesting mechanic to it. I want more of that. But yeah, that is by far and away my biggest gripe. It's like because it's really generous with the saves at least, which is nice. And I've only had one occasion where it's actually auto saved miles after doing a lot of stuff, and for some reason didn't save for ages. And that was again during that loopy bit. Like it just didn't save in that area itself. So when things did go bad, it's like oh, I've got to do all of that again.
Or not, depending on whether there was anything worth getting.
Well, it's because there's a Korok seed challenge around
Okay.
there that I was doing.
So you need to clear the enemies out of the way.
Yeah. Or you just attract them whilst doing the loop.
I don't know if I've actually. Obviously, it's hard, and I have like I have some fairies or whatever, and the Mipha's Grace thing from the Zora domain. But I don't think I've quote unquote died since I fell in the river at the start of the game.
Oh, I've died loads. I'm dying all the time. Like that beach fight we mentioned earlier, that was one of those ones where it's like, I'm
Right.
not.
Oh, I might have died there.
Because I'd done that before I had armor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't do that. I went down there, died once, and I was like, I'm just going to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This side quest is not time critical.
I did it by choosing it with like a million bombs for ages at the start of the game, which was
Oh,
quite a lot
I
of fun.
still try and do that, but they
Yeah.
get less and less effective, don't they? And
Yeah, it took ages, but I did it.
I
at
haven't
the
leveled
end.
up my bombs yet, so maybe that becomes more effective. But
Well, it helps.
yeah.
Those starting bombs are so incredibly weak.
But then even when I got into the modest test of strength, again, I stumbled upon that before any major combat trials or I'd been taught anything, so I was still figuring it out. And just trying to get the parry timing down was impossible.
Well, the parry's way more difficult than the dodge.
Well, I can't even get the dodge timing down. Like, very few enemies have decent tells. or at least the tells are so fast
Well, yeah.
that you don't actually have the time to react to them.
But my tactic with those guys is just hit them once and then dodge around so that you're 180 degrees the other side of them while they're doing their ridiculous attacks, and hit them again. They don't seem to...
It would work.
I don't just, I guess, but I don't just mean that just for those test of strength,
right?
Well, yeah, like
things. It's just like all enemies. I think like the tells aren't
regular
there.
moblins.
Yeah, moblins.
A lot of the time, I found it where I was just. I mean, when I could actually use a shield, I was just sitting there waiting for the one attack that I knew had a longer tail. Like I'm just absorbing, or I'm just like constantly backflipping, waiting until I see the start of the animation that it's easy to time. So I'm just trying to stay out of range of all the rest of the attacks and not trying to activate it. But yeah, the dodge timing is like on certain attacks and certain enemies, it gets ridiculously easy. And once you know which ones those are, it's like it's exploitable.
Yeah, I just haven't had that. I don't know. I think I've found where it's like, all right, I'll just wait for him to do. When I've tried to do the waiting game, wait for it to do its thing, and then go and then get it right. It's like probably only 50% effective. I don't know. It hasn't felt tight enough. It's not like trying to do the Bayonetta witch time dodge, which it's like that was as tight as anything. It's like, okay, no, I know exactly when I need to do this. I just haven't had that feeling thus far. But you know, even just spending a couple of minutes with you earlier watching me saying, "Oh yeah, the spear trick. That's super useful. Why did I not think of that?"
What's that?
Because there's no reason for you to think of that.
Just stun locking with the spear, like hit it a little bit, but don't get into the combat, the combo.
Because if you do the full combo and you ragdoll the enemy, then that's inconvenient because they go flying away, and then you have to wait, run up to them or whatever.
But not all the weapons stun lock things, so it's like or have a stun effect. So it's like, oh, that's actually a really effective one. just use the spear, Sam. Yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of thing where it's just like I guess you are still in the learning phase where you haven't fought different enemies frequently enough to know where the attacks that are easy to deal with, or which enemies wielding which weapons are easier or harder, and should you engage this guy, should you shoot him with an arrow, you just stun him with an electro rod or something.
Yeah, I guess
that's the kind of thing you only learn. I mean, I wasted doing it a lot.
I wasted a fire rod because the balls didn't bounce high enough to get this guy that was on a tiny ledge.
Yeah, the fireballs kind of suck.
Yeah.
The fire rod is easily the worst.
Right. Okay.
Electric and ice rods.
I've heard the electro's been fun because I was using that around the swamp. It's like
huge death.
Yeah.
And you just steal their weapon, of course, if you've got inventory space. Shock them and then pick it up.
Yeah. So overall, I'm pretty into it, but it's not without things I dislike, and it can be that combat stuff can be just so frustrating. Especially again, I think a lot of it is because maybe I've done it when I perhaps should have just been mainlining the start of the game.
Sure,
but it's not that kind of game. I want to go everywhere. I want to explore. Like even going back to Kakariko, it's been like, well, I'll do this up high because it was raining when I was approaching Kakariko before, so I couldn't go up high. So it's like I can do this now. What's the? I think I'm in your camp, Dan. I think where you talked about the rain before.
Legend of Rain at inconvenient times.
Not that bad.
No, really bad.
It's not.
It's like it's the only thing that's just a straight up negative event.
That you
the
just have to wait it out, and that's not really in the spirit of the rest of the game. I mean, like I say, if
raining, you just have to learn the timing, and you can't go as far, but you can still go up.
Sure, you have to be jumping.
Yes, you have to time that jump. Wait 4 seconds between pressing jump. You jump 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, but sometimes you jump and you land and you immediately slide.
Well, you do every time, but you always go. You can always make ground if you time it so that just before you slide again, you do the next jump.
Sure, but every time it's been like that, it's been annoying. It's been like, oh, that's a really big cliff.
You don't have to climb big cliffs.
And I remember I have had plenty of, like, ignoring the rain stuff, I have had plenty of moments where I've been a dumbass and I've tried using the wrong power to get the job done. So I found a wooden chest in the water, but it was quite a long way below.
Okay, let's see where this might be going.
And so the obvious answer should be to use Cryonis or whatever it is to lift it out of the water. And that just didn't occur to me. This I'd done it before.
Cronus is the one that I always forgot.
Yeah, I always
you
forget
just don't
Cronus.
really use it that much.
The thing is that I knew I'd done this. I'd used Cronus to do this in the past, and I just sort of forgot about it, as you said. And so I was using Magnesis because there was a metal crate around to try and
drag the other crate,
because the crate was sort of under a sort of bridge that I was on.
Right.
You could probably figure out where I was.
Yeah.
But so I was mashing the crate, just mashing this metal thing against the crate to push it out into the open, and then I could sort of move it further and further downstream so I could actually make it so, because the platform I was on a bit of a slant, so I could actually put my Magnesis low enough to get under it and lift it up. But every time I got under it and lifted it up, the crate would tilt, and so the crate would just fall off.
Yeah.
It's and eventually I then accidentally fell in and drowned.
Okay.
And it's which reset the whole thing. And I was and then in the end, because I found that boat with a leaf on it and just
went over there.
I went over there. I still didn't think of Cryonis at this point. And so what ended up happening is I wedged the crate into the corner where it sort of popped up a bit. And on off the edge of the boat, I could just go, open.
Sweet.
I didn't do that properly at all. And in the end, it just gave me an arrow or something.
Yeah. 5 bomb arrows or something.
It was really not worth the effort, but it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I love that you can do that. The fact that you can cheese things is so good.
Yeah, and cheese it in a way that doesn't seem totally bonkers.
Yeah.
As well. It's not like it physics
consistent.
out and flew into the sky.
No.
And then just landed next to me conveniently. Yeah, so I'm having a really good time.
It's a great game.
And like I said, I wish the annoyances weren't there. I think Zelda combat has been better, and perhaps this feels like it should have been better in that respect.
I don't know. I mean, Zelda
the
combat
world is amazing.
Yeah, I think the combat could definitely be a lot better. But I don't think necessarily going back to older Zeldas it would be good either. And just in terms of any mechanics, really.
I don't know. I really liked Twilight Princess was what I was going to go to. Is I think that has probably one of the strongest combat mechanics in the whole series. It's that always felt good.
It does have kind of slightly, where it's just you learn a thing that you can only do in one specific instance.
Sure.
And it's only for that purpose.
Yeah. No, it was very much like this enemy has to be defeated this way.
Yeah.
And you learnt that, and then it was do it. But it kind of worked, right? It felt...
It's just that
even when you got a crowd of enemies, it's I don't know, I felt those games dealt with that better.
Yeah, I guess. It's just that in Breath of the Wild,
It's wild.
Well, you don't really unlock new combat abilities, you don't unlock new abilities in general.
Right, yeah.
It's you have everything from the start, so there's not really any opportunities to do anything new.
Because I really liked that about Twilight Princess, how for the pretty much the entire game, you're constantly finding that skeletal dude.
Yeah.
And he's telling you a new trick, and it's oh, cool. Now I can do that against that thing, and that solves the problem with that, and it's and I know that's not that's not this game, but that was one of the cooler elements of those games. You're still gaining abilities, but that's I know not to expect that from this.
Also, I think maybe the other thing that Breath of the Wild could have done to help itself without doing anything extremely new would be to make the charge attacks actually useful.
Right, yeah. I mean, I've used the spear one a few times.
Sure, if you just want to do a lot of damage real quick to an enemy. But the trouble with that is even that attack causes them to ragdoll and fly away halfway through a lot of the time.
Yeah.
It's well, that sucks. But then, the charge attacks just take so long to initiate, the actual charge, and you have to, be in a position to not get hit, which isn't very frequent. I mean, the greatsword spinny attack is more useful because you can initiate that away from the enemy and spin towards them.
Perhaps I should be using that one more. I haven't really used anything other than the spear charge because I'm not sure I ever have enough time to charge.
Yeah, exactly.
And
you could sort of do it when when the mini guardians are powering up their laser at the end of the test of strength.
Oh boy, yeah, that would be really annoying because it doesn't just fire once; it just keeps sort of firing.
Yeah, it fires 4 times.
Oh god, I can't just hide behind this giant pillar. It's
Yeah, you just have to sprint in a arc.
Just run in a direction.
Yeah.
Or you could try and learn to parry it. But that's difficult. Or just have a shield.
Parry the laser.
I guess you can just shield those lasers.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a Guardian Shield now.
Well, no, I think you can just shield the small lasers with a regular shield, and it only does some damage, but doesn't knock you over.
The small lasers, not the big ones right at the end. You mean it's blowing everything up?
Oh, the big lasers.
Okay,
but I think those small Guardian lasers will just be.
Oh, they do get stopped. Yeah, but they do massive damage to your shield.
Yeah. So obviously you don't have very good shields at the start of the game, so that kind of negates itself.
I mean, I'm kind of hoping the durability thing gets better because it is a bit more frequent than I was expecting.
It gets a lot better when you update it, when you have a bigger inventory.
Well, and
you know how to get weapons
to the higher level weapon.
Yeah, everything just seems to have been. That was the first knight thing.
When you're getting the actual metallic weapons, that's where you're starting to see actual durability.
Yeah, it's a little more frequent than I was expecting, and it does occasionally catch you out. But I like the fact that the last hit is always a sort of a crit of some kind, and almost always causes a ragdoll. So it's like, I've got a bit of breathing space to actually sort this out. That's well thought through. I wish the bow was a little more effective than it is right now. It doesn't quite seem to do enough damage.
Well, I mean, it's much less of a part of normal combat than it was in previous Zelda.
Yeah, it's an initiator, but it never seems quite powerful enough to do the stealth thing, right? It's like, I need to take out that goblin that's there, and it's like, no, you land the headshot, and it's like, that's not done enough damage. Well, I'm in trouble now.
I mean, that's just a matter of getting better bows again, I guess.
Yeah, but it's like the pacing seems off, right? Me getting the better bows seems the enemy levels seem to be increasing faster than I'm getting better stuff at the moment.
Only the confidence, though. I mean, you're still.
I mean, well, actually, no. It started that way. It feels like I've caught up now.
Right.
The balance seems to have been met, but I was again, probably because I was spent too long exploring. The ranks of stuff felt. Also, I did try and cook during a blood moon. That happened, and I'm not quite sure what it does because I heard that was a thing.
Makes it give you more health usually, doesn't it?
Does it just make everything slightly better? Because I think I got some stuff that had a crazy long timer.
Well, the thing is, you can just get critical cooking, basically. It's random anyway.
That's a thing. Oh, okay.
So you can have critical success on any dish. I like when you're combining 2 hearty durians to make a +8 yellow hearts. You can crit that and get a +9.
Okay. Nice. I've only just started discovering hearty things.
Yeah, so that's what you want. That'll solve all your health problems.
Yeah, because I've been able to upgrade 3 times now, and I put the first one into stamina because that was bothering. The stamina, the initial stamina was bothering me at the start.
Definitely,
I'm not really dying. Just get a bit.
It's all about stamina.
But then the last 2 times I've got hearts because of the one hit stuff.
Yeah. You need a certain amount of hearts, and then at a point you just flip back to stamina again.
Yeah,
and
it's pretty even at the
hearty
start.
Food stuff, that obviously helps.
Yeah, I actually did fill my food inventory as well, which is problematic. I've got way too much cold stuff because I thought I was going to need more of it.
Yeah, I never filled the food inventory. I never really cooked that much. I kept a reserve of the things that I need, and then I was just like, I can sell all this other crap.
Seems to me the main thing I want is mighty stuff, but I don't know what to get.
That is indeed.
I can't.
I've been getting nothing but the tough stuff.
I haven't got anything to.
You tend to start with the tough stuff because obviously you have low hearts and crap defense at the start of the game. So the tough potions and tough food is really helpful.
But the thing that's helped me the most thus far has been getting that armor set that I've got right now. Well, not the set, but just
part of it.
Yeah, just the proper
actual armor.
Yeah, the armor.
What did you buy from
the
village?
Royal Guards armor?
Something like that. Right. It's made of metal.
I haven't got any of that.
Yeah, I didn't buy that.
Oh, that's on sale in Hatano, right?
Yeah, because that boosted me from a 3 to a 7, I think it is, and I was like, that's I'm dying all the time, so I need more armor.
Well, it's because basically the sets that are actual armor start at 7, and everything else starts at 3. And then once you get the upgrading armor, then they go up proportionally. So armor is always higher armor than.
Oh yeah. So I found that. Level. I found that too. So I've found clothing enhanced.
Yeah.
But these This is a really strange world, isn't it? Where people's powers are, I can enhance clothing and I have inventory space management skills.
Oh, I mean, it's not
Well,
like
it's magic.
Yeah, but shit magic.
It's pretty useful.
Compared to what the Great Fairies did before, they've actually got better almost. Like,
What did they do in Ocarina? I can't even remember.
there was Magic Bar, wasn't it?
Oh,
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Well, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, mana
Now
bar
it's
type.
it's like more specific. They're basically crafters, only magical crafters.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
They craft with the power of maracas.
They just take a big pile of random assorted crap and somehow turn it into clothes.
into nicer clothes.
Yeah. I know this is like third or fourth episode in a row where we've spent like a good half of the Saladcast talking about Zelda, but boy, you're in for a lot more of it.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll have to carry on
I don't
next
think I'm
time.
going
I
to be
think
playing much else for a long time.
it's freaking great. Well,
Or
we've got to
until
get
Zach
ready
asks
for
the Switchback anyway.
the great, my predicted great game of the year 3-way, or game of the I don't know, decade 3-way between Zelda and Mario and Red Dead.
Maybe we'll see. We'll see. I am a little bit worried that maybe I will fall off this just because of its size. It is so enormous.
You don't have to do anything.
No, true.
It's the important thing to remember.
Yeah.
Go to the end when you're ready to go to the end, which not necessarily means that you need to be 100% ready.
I'm at like 55 hours according to the thing, so I think about halfway.
Where is the thing? Where is the actual hour?
Oh,
your profile page, and then there's a list there that tells you recent stuff you've been playing, and then that tells you how.
Oh, right, like in the Switch menu.
Yeah, in the Switch.
So
menu,
I couldn't actually find that out until I'd made a Nintendo account and logged into it.
Oh, so maybe I can't do it
No.
because I haven't attached my account.
Because you don't want to attach your account to my Switch for obvious reasons.
Yeah. I really hope Nintendo put the save game transfer thing in. Because there's no way to do that right now, is there? It's on the device and that's it.
Well, I don't know. You might be able to put it onto like the memory card.
You
Possibly.
can't. I looked it up. I did some research. I was like, is this
And
possible?
you can
And
do
it's like
save transfers through amiibos in some situations.
I guess in some cases, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Probably not
But yeah,
Zelda.
it's not-
That's got to be a lot of data, hasn't it? Oh, maybe
I don't know
not.
if it does have to be that much data. Well,
a
It
reasonable
kind of
amount.
keeps part of the state of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, but that's
It doesn't
why-
remember everything. Like everything that's on the floor, for instance, doesn't get saved. And
No.
like, I think like some collectibles in the world reset on a full load. Like which apples you've picked.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically only saving stuff like the Korok seeds
Yeah,
and chess, I suppose.
yeah. And exactly where you are. And
Well, not exactly where you are.
yeah, I've had it put me like a few meters to one side of where I respawned.
Yeah.
Like I was standing on this wall. Why am I not standing on this wall then? But it's pretty good. And also the sleep mode on this. Hey, kudos Nintendo for making an OS that is at the moment lightning fast.
I guess. It's when you've only got two icons on the home screen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Maybe it will get worse with more. And also, it's a scrolling list by the looks of it.
Yeah.
That might kind of suck once you've got more than 4 things.
Yeah, we'll see how that pans out. Because things stay in the list if you've bought them, but not installed.
Yeah.
They'll stay there, and the option will be to install. I'm hungry. Let's get pizza.
Fair. Okay.
End this podcast.
This
We'll
is the end of this.
come back to Zelda next time. Thanks for joining us, listeners.
I suppose depending if Zach will let me take the Switch on the road, I'm traveling again. So
You're allowed to take it.
okay, good. So you'll have a full travel report as well.
Just put it in something soft.
Yeah. No, I might take it in the box.
Because I don't actually have an actual case or anything.
Yeah. Well, I'll either bubble wrap it as you frequently do, or or I might just put it in the box because I'll have the car.
Sure. Just don't leave the box anywhere visible.
Oh sure. Yeah.
Don't get your car broken into.
Yeah.
Because people want to switch.
They're plentiful.
Well, now, yeah.
Yeah, you can get hold of a Switch now.
Cool.
But then, do I get a Switch?
You probably will in the end
me
anyway.
Getting a Switch now is a terrible idea.
Well, now, yes.
Death will come if we don't eat soon.
All right.
Okay. That sums up this podcast.
Okay,
apparently.
so we've got to stave off death, so we're off. We'll catch you next time. Yeah, goodbye.
We can help.